Chapter 1226. Very good. Consort Xie smiled meaningfully and asked no more questions. She took the initiative to take off her clothes, apparently very trusting of Xiao Chen. Shen Jingxian naturally didn't hesitate either. She took off her clothes with Consort Xie and placed them to the side. All right, we'll begin dual cultivation according to the steps I've mentioned. First, put your hands. Xiao Chen directed the two girls to sit in a circle around him, and then briefly explained the method of dual cultivation. The two girls were extremely intelligent and quick-witted people, so they quickly understood the essentials of dual cultivation. They followed Xiao Chen's instructions and placed their palms on the other two's, closed their eyes, and immediately began to circulate their mental cultivation method and cultivate. Following the activation of the mental cultivation method, the venerable origin power within the barrier instantly surged and filled the entire seclusion area, releasing waves of suppressive might continuously. Outside the seclusion area, Hongzhu and the others couldn't help but take a few steps back when they saw the protective array suddenly light up with a white radiance. Presumably, Xiao Chen's group had already begun cultivating. Hongzhu, who was originally tired and sleepy, should have seized the time to rest while Xiao Chen and the others were cultivating. However, she was in no mood to do so. Instead, she kept staring at the three people sitting together in the seclusion area. Her heart was in a mess as she anxiously waited for the final result. For some reason, Hongzhu felt as if there were two little people fighting in her heart at this moment. It was extremely contradictory. On one hand, she felt that Xiao Chen's method of breaking through was too simple. It looked just like an ordinary cultivation method, and there was nothing outstanding about it. What was the difference between this and her own cultivation method? How could he possibly break through? But on the other hand, Hongzhu really hoped that Xiao Chen would succeed. After all, she had thought quite highly of Xiao Chen back in the secular world, and felt that this fellow was a talent that could be molded. That was why she had used her authority to give Xiao Chen a lot of help back then. Hong Yan, Song Qingshu, and Hong Laosan all wore disdainful looks on their faces. They simply did not believe that Xiao Chen would be able to help Shen Jingxian and the others break through by relying on such a cultivation method, so they could only wait to see him make a fool of himself. Only Hongzhu's heart was burning like a pot of boiling oil. About half an hour later, the light from the protective array of the seclusion site gradually dimmed. Hongzhu and the others saw Xiao Chen slowly stand up with the help of the two girls, and then walk towards them with a smile on his face. What do you think? Have you all successfully broken through to the venerable realm? Before Xiao Chen and the others could walk out of the seclusion area, Hongzhu asked in a trembling voice. She clenched her fists and felt that her palms were moist. It was obvious that they were soaked in sweat. Xiao Chen could naturally hear Hongzhu's voice, but he did not answer. Instead, he smiled faintly and calmly removed the barrier around the seclusion site, as well as the illusions that Song Qingshu and the others had seen. Hongzhu felt her vision blur for a moment, and in the next moment, Xiao Chen, Shen Jingxian, and Xiefei were already standing outside the seclusion site. Hongzhu's heart was thumping wildly, and she thought that her vision had blurred because she was too nervous. Kid, I didn't know that you had some ability. To think that you actually succeeded. Song Qingshu raised his eyebrows slightly and said in a slightly surprised tone. As a cultivator, he could naturally sense the auras of the venerable realm coming from Shen Jingxian and Xiefei. Song Qingshu, what did you just say? Did they succeed? Hongzhu was startled. He abruptly turned his head and impatiently asked Song Qingshu. Hong Yan also looked surprised. She had not expected that this lecher would actually have some skills, and had actually helped Shen Jingxian and the others break through. Little Hongzhu, they have indeed successfully broken through to the venerable realm. It's your and Hong Yan's turn next. Song Qingshu nodded, then turned to look at Xiao Chen and indifferently asked, Actually, I'm very curious. How did you do it? Given your intelligence, it's very difficult for me to explain it to you, so you'd better not ask. Xiao Chen could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Song Qingshu, so he turned to Shen Jingxian and Xiefei and said, The two of you have just broken through to the venerable realm, so you may not be very used to it yet. It's best for you to return to the seclusion site and consolidate your cultivation. After your breakthroughs, the pressure will not have much effect on you." The two girls nodded obediently, then returned to their original spot and sat down cross-legged. However, they did not circulate their mental cultivation techniques. Instead, they held hands and whispered to each other with sweet smiles on their faces. On one hand, they had just become Venerable Realm experts, so they were still a little excited. On the other hand, they were considering that Hong Zhu and Hong Yan might come to dual cultivate later. If they started circulating their mental cultivation techniques, the protective formation would be activated, so it was better to wait for a while and wait for them to come in before cultivating, lest they were interrupted halfway. "Humph, kid, don't be too arrogant. Do you think that you're so great just because you can help others break through to the Venerable Realm? If it weren't for the fact that you still have some value, I would have crippled you long ago." Song Qingshu snorted coldly, feeling a little embarrassed. In Song Qingshu's eyes, people like Xiao Chun who did not have any strength, but liked to show off, were simply arrogant people who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Just because they had some tricks up their sleeves, they became arrogant. If Hong Zhu had not stopped him, he would have immediately given Xiao Chun a good beating. "Alright, Song Qingshu, don't be so sarcastic and say less." Hong Zhu glared at Song Qingshu, then ran over to Xiao Chun and grabbed his hand. He smiled as he swayed back and forth. "Little brother Xiao Chun, don't pay attention to Song Qingshu, that silly goose. He's just a block of wood, and he doesn't know how to flirt at all. Hurry up and help me break through to the Venerable Realm. I can't wait any longer." "Oh, alright. For your sake, I won't bicker with that idiot surnamed Song." Xiao Chun flashed a victorious smile. He nonchalantly glanced at Song Qingshu, then turned around and left with Hong Zhu. Song Qingshu was so angry that his nose became crooked after being exposed by Hong Zhu on the spot. He wanted to mock Xiao Chun, but he was afraid that Xiao Chun would really not help Hong Zhu break through in a fit of anger. If that happened, this little girl would definitely blame it on him. So he simply turned his face away and pretended not to hear anything. Only his heaving chest showed how suffocated he was. Hong Lao-san was originally on Song Qingshu's side, but after seeing that Xiao Chun had successfully helped Hong Zhu break through to the Venerable Realm, he became a little uncertain. After all, he did not have any grudges against Xiao Chun, so he did not have any preconceived animosity towards him. Seeing that they were arguing, Hong Lao-san, who was not good with words to begin with, did not know which side to help. He could only secretly stand a little further away and pretend to be enjoying the scenery. However, Hong Lao-san inadvertently saw that Hong Yan was standing alone at the side. Her expression was constantly changing, as if she was having an intense internal struggle. Xiao Chun had just taken a few steps with Hong Zhu when he suddenly thought of something. He stopped and asked, "Oh right, isn't your little sister going to break through as well? Why didn't she come with us?" Chapter 12:27. My little sister? You mean Hong Yan? Hong Zhu pursed his lips and deliberately raised his voice. Don't even mention her. She's very virtuous and virtuous. She might not even like you, you lecher, you scoundrel. Besides, she has that little lover of hers, Song Qingshu, accompanying her. So why would she care about you? She's probably already thrown the matter of breaking through to the highest heavens. After saying that, Hong Zhu turned his head and gave Hong Yan a provocative look, only to find that she was so angry that her face had turned purple. She was staring at him hatefully, but she couldn't say anything. Oh, you're right. Xiao Chun shrugged and didn't insist on inviting Hong Yan to cultivate with him. He suddenly thought that since dual cultivation required them to take off their clothes, it really wasn't very suitable to bring Hong Yan along, because he and Shin Jingxian had already met each other openly, and CFA seemed to have a good impression of him. Since Jingxian wasn't against it, there wouldn't be any misgivings about dual cultivation. As for little Hong Zhu, this little girl seemed to be very indifferent to the feelings between men and women, so it wouldn't be so awkward during dual cultivation. But Hong Yan was different. He had heard from her that she had never married since she was young, so it seemed that she was indeed a rather virtuous little girl. If he asked her to cultivate with him, wouldn't she think that he was acting like a hooligan and scolded him harshly? Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? Back then, when Xiao Chun had only mentioned the matter of reading books, she hadn't been willing to do so. Although it wasn't impossible to insist on dual cultivation, everyone had their own aspirations and couldn't be forced. Xiao Chun felt that it was better not to take the initiative to find trouble with her. Wait, seeing that Xiao Chun and Hong Zhu were walking further and further away, Hong Yan's angry and aggrieved expression gradually disappeared. She clenched her teeth and, as if she had made an important decision, suddenly shouted and chased after them. Hong Laosan, who was standing next to her, jumped in fright. Looking at Hong Yan's back, he suddenly came to a realization. So this girl was thinking about this just now. Hong Yan stopped in front of the two and raised her head to look at the surprised Xiao Chun and said, I've decided. I want to break through to the venerable realm with you. Xiao Chun, please take me with you. Her tone was hesitant at first, but as she spoke, her expression became more and more resolute. It seemed that she had already made up her mind. Well. Xiao Chun rubbed his nose anxiously. He really didn't expect that Hong Yan would take the initiative to ask him for dual cultivation. What should he do? Hong Yan would definitely not be willing to take off her clothes in front of him. The key was that it was not convenient for him to tell her the cultivation method. Otherwise, wouldn't the misunderstanding be even more serious? Yo, Hong Yan, weren't you scolding Xiao Chun a while ago? Are you actually willing to cultivate with the person you hate the most in order to become a venerable one? It seems like you've finally become enlightened today. Hong Zhu rolled his eyes and mocked in a lukewarm voice. Elder sister, don't say such sarcastic words to provoke me. If it wasn't for the future of the Hong family, I would rather die than cultivate with Xiao Chun. Hong Yan's expression was solemn as she vowed solemnly. In Hong Yan's opinion, the orders of the family would always come first. Even if she were to cultivate with the person she hated the most, it would only last for an hour. She would just treat it as enduring for an hour. After that, they would have nothing to do with each other. Xiao Chun couldn't help but curse inwardly. I'm the one who's going to cultivate with you now, eldest Mississippi. Is it really okay for you to put on such a righteous and stern expression? Aren't you afraid that I'll reject you? TSK. Hong Yan, oh Hong Yan, you're so great that I'm almost moved to tears by you. You might as well go and participate in the Touching the Hong family's top 10 people. You'll definitely get first place. Hong Zhu clasped his hands together, as if he was worshipping a saint. However, his expression and eyes were filled with disdain. Hong Yan was so angry that her face alternated between red and white. She opened her mouth but didn't know how to respond. She also knew that quarreling was her weakness, and that she couldn't be compared to Hong Zhu at all. Thus, she could only turn her head away and silently sulk. All right. If you two sisters have any grudges, you can slowly quarrel when you get home. Don't quarrel here and waste everyone's time. Xiao Chun helplessly shook his head. Soon after, he solemnly warned Hong Yan. I'll only warn you once. My method of breaking through is rather special. I hope that you'll be mentally prepared. Don't give up halfway and blame me later. TCH, isn't it all because of you? Before Hong Yan could speak, Hong Zhu muttered in a low voice. What did you say? Xiao Chun was standing right next to Hong Zhu, so he naturally heard what Hong Yan had said. However, before he could ask, Hong Yan immediately nodded and resolutely replied, Don't worry, I've already prepared myself. No matter how much pain I have to endure, I can handle it. I absolutely won't regret it. In fact, the naive Hong Yan didn't notice the hidden meaning behind Xiao Chun's words. She thought that Xiao Chun was afraid that she wouldn't be able to bear the pressure, and deliberately gave her such a warning. So she was a little dissatisfied. This kid is looking down on me too much. Isn't it just a short period of suffering? Does he really think that I'm a flower in a greenhouse who hasn't suffered before? And he didn't even tell Hong Zhu about it, but me. He's really looking down on me. Naturally, Xiao Chun didn't know what Hong Yan was thinking. Seeing that both parties had no objections, he didn't say anything else. Instead, he led the two women to the center of the seclusion area and arranged for them to sit next to Shen Jingxian and CFA. Then, he used a concealment technique to confuse Song Qingshu and third young master Hong, and casually set up a barrier. The area of the seclusion area was quite large. Initially, Xiao Chun wanted to bring Hong Zhu and Xie Fei to another corner to cultivate, so that Shen Jingxian and Xie Fei could consolidate their cultivation alone. However, he also considered that the seclusion area would emit a pressure when he was about to break through to the martial honor realm. Moreover, Shen Jingxian and Xie Fei were consolidating their cultivation, so it wouldn't be good if they were affected. Thus, in the end, he decided to just sit together. If they encountered any trouble, he could solve it together. What's this? Hong Zhu looked at the barrier that suddenly appeared in surprise and asked with a puzzled expression. Xiao Chun, I was watching you guys cultivating outside the seclusion area just now, but I don't think you guys used this thing to block it? Why is it blocking Hong Yan and I when it's our turn to cultivate? Don't tell me you're plotting something? Hong Yan was also very shocked. She reached out to touch the barrier beside her, and found that it was very cold to the touch. Furthermore, it felt quite sturdy, and probably not even an ordinary person could break it. She had the same question as Hong Zhu, and since Hong Yan didn't have a good impression of Xiao Chun to begin with, she looked warily at Xiao Chun and waited for him to give her an explanation. Chapter 1228. Oh, it's like this. Actually, I had also used this barrier just now, but I used a little trick in advance, so that you couldn't see what was going on inside. So you could only see what I showed you. Xiao Chun took off his coat and explained. As for this barrier, it's to prevent you from exposing yourselves. It's much easier this way, as I can't control so many people at the same time. I still don't quite understand. Why can't we let others watch us cultivate? Are you going to use some trick? Hong Zhu looked at Xiao Chun in surprise and asked the question in her mind. Also, what is your current strength? How did you manage to create such a powerful thing? Hong Zhu felt that Xiao Chun was becoming more and more unfathomable. He could actually control venerable experts like Song Qingshu and Hong San so easily. Wasn't this a little too terrifying? Was this still the young and inexperienced boy she knew back then? Junior sister Hong Zhu, didn't I tell you before? Xiao Chun is a very powerful special ability user. Not only can he control other people's minds, he can also easily make them lose their footing. Doing these things is like playing a game to him. As for the function of this barrier, at this point, Xie Fei deliberately paused to keep Hong Zhu and Hong Yan in suspense, also that she could see Hong Zhu and Hong Yan's reactions. Although Hong Zhu and Hong Yan were in conflict with each other, their reactions were particularly identical at this moment. Both of their mouths were slightly agape with looks of disbelief on their faces. On one hand, they felt that what Xie Fei had said was a fantasy story, but on the other hand, the barrier beside them was telling them that it was indeed true. Xie Fei looked at the astonished expressions on the two girls' faces with satisfaction, then smiled faintly and continued. In fact, it's very simple. Xiao Chun wants to help us break through to the venerable realm, and the method he's using is male and female dual cultivation. Dual cultivation? Hong Yan and Hong Zhu exclaimed in unison. Hong Zhu's voice was slightly trembling, but Hong Yan's face immediately turned pale, and not a single trace of blood could be seen on her face. Yes, dual cultivation. Xie Fei nodded and said slowly. In other words, he uses the method of balancing yin and yang to speed up the process of breaking through to the martial honor realm. He makes use of Xiao Chun's superb strength to help us resist the pressure during the breakthrough and successfully advance. Alright, I've explained everything. I'm sure you know what to do next, right? Hong Yan's legs went soft, and she almost stumbled and fell to the ground. Although she didn't like to talk about the matters between men and women, she had read that taboo novel. Dual cultivation? Didn't the so-called dual cultivation mean that a man and a woman had to do that kind of thing? Sister Xiaofei, you said that on purpose, didn't you? Hong Yan still had some hope in her heart. She asked carefully, Actually, you didn't rely on dual cultivation to break through just now. You used other methods, right? Hehe, what do you think? Xie Fei did not answer directly. Instead, she stretched out her hand and flipped the hair on her temples. She posed in a charming posture and asked in a lazy voice. Hong Yan's mouth was half open. Her mind felt like it was going to explode. She had no idea what to do. Am I going to lose the innocence that I've guarded for so many years? But if I don't participate, I won't be able to break through. If I don't break through, I won't be able to help my family participate in the sacrificial ceremony and open the door to the cultivation world. But for the future of my family, am I going to make such a huge sacrifice? In the midst of her chaotic thoughts, the scene before the three of them entered seclusion flashed across Hong Yan's mind. At that time, Xiao Chun had warned her that the method of breaking through was rather special, so that she could be mentally prepared. She never thought that this was what he meant. Heavens! Xiao Chun, you damned lecher! You scoundrel! Why didn't you say so earlier? If he had clearly said that only a man and a woman could successfully break through to the martial honor realm through dual cultivation, I would rather die than come here. What should I do now? Could it be that he had to refuse again? Hong Yan's mind was in a whirl. She couldn't help but turn her gaze to Hong Zhu, wanting to see what her big sister was going to do. Hong Zhu and Hong Yan were also thinking the same thing. It turned out that the so-called special cultivation method was a man and a woman performing the ritual of dual cultivation. No wonder Xiao Chun had started taking off his outer clothes right after he finished setting up the barrier. Xiao Chun, you were as pure and innocent as a little fresh meat when you were in the secular world. I didn't think that you would still be interested in us sisters. Although Hong Zhu was a little nervous, he still teased Xiao Chun out of habit. Then why didn't you make a move at the pharmacy? It's just dual cultivation. How did it become me being interested in you too? Xiao Chun shook his head helplessly. This Hong Zhu was still the same, always teasing him whenever he saw him. It was like this in the secular world, and it was still the same in the martial honor realm. If you weren't interested, why would you want to dual cultivate with us? Hong Zhu curled his lips, twirling a strand of hair in his hand as he said sourly, It's not that I want to criticize you, but if you want to take advantage of us, I'll let you take advantage of us. But you're actually so greedy that you want to take both of us sisters? Xiao Chun was a little dumbfounded. Since when did I want to take them? Weren't you two the ones who came up to me? When did I? Xiao Chun was about to protest when Hong Yan suddenly shouted angrily, Big sister! Why are you so surprised? You almost scared me out of my wits. Hong Zhu rolled his eyes at Hong Yan and said snappily, Big sister, can you be a little more serious? Hong Yan stamped her feet and glared at Xiao Chun with shame and anger, gnashing her teeth and saying, I really shouldn't have asked you to sympathize with him. I didn't expect him to be such a bad person, falling in love with every woman he sees. I shouldn't have sold the herbs to him. Forget it. If I hadn't met Xiao Chun back then, would he have helped us break through today? Stop being so regretful, and think about whether or not you want to dual cultivate with us. Hong Zhu felt a little helpless towards his little sister. What kind of situation was this? Why was she still thinking about the past? Hong Yan's face alternated between green and white. She was supposed to sacrifice her body for the sake of breaking through, and it was even more so for the hateful Xiao Chun. How could that be possible? But if she refused, she might not be able to help the clan anymore. Even though Hong Zhu looked like he didn't care on the surface, and even teased Xiao Chun a little, he still felt a little regretful in his heart. If he had known this would happen, he would have asked Xiao Chun about the method to help him break through first. Now he had fallen into a dilemma. He couldn't just leave without becoming a venerable, right? How was he going to explain this to Song Qingshu? After all, Shen Jingxian and Xie had successfully broken through, so why couldn't he and Hong Yan do the same? Chapter 1229. Hong Zhu was worried. If they really left the way they came in, Song Qingshu might really do something irrational in a fit of rage. He was already a little disgusted with Xiao Chun to begin with, so he was even less likely to let them off so easily. Turning to look at Xie and Shen Jingxian, Hong Zhu saw that both of them had a matter-of-fact expression on their faces. It seemed that the two of them had only broken through after doing it with Xiao Chun. Thinking about it, these two women were no longer virgins. so they must have been together with Xiao Chun in the past. So there shouldn't be any problems with dual cultivation now. But he and Hong Yin were both virgins. How could they wait virgins? This method seems to be a little problematic. Hong Zhu suddenly thought of an important matter and said with a frown, "This method seems a little problematic." "What's the problem?" "Junior sister Hong Zhu, I think it's normal that Hong Yin is unwilling. But why can't you cast aside your worldly views?" Xie Fei looked at Hong Zhu in surprise. Wasn't it just taking off her clothes? It was quite easy just now. So why did it seem like it was a matter of life and death in the blink of an eye? Hong Zhu bit his lower lip and frowned as he voiced his doubts. "Forgive me for being presumptuous, senior sister Xiao Fei. But you and Shen Jingxian have already done it with Xiao Chun. So there shouldn't be any problems with this dual cultivation method. But I am still virgins, so if I do it, it might affect the spiritual energy in my body." "That's right." Hong Yan's body trembled, as if she had suddenly seen the light of dawn. Summoning up her courage, she hurriedly added, "The amount of spiritual energy is very important, and the clan has repeatedly warned us not to reveal it, so. Ha 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 ha." After hearing Hong Zhu's words, Xie Fei was stunned for a while. It was only when Hong Yan added that she suddenly burst into a peal of laughter that sounded like silver bells. She laughed while clutching her stomach, her entire body almost bending to the ground. Xiao Chun raised his head and looked at the sky. He was speechless. What were these two girls thinking? Who said that dual cultivation meant doing bad things? Just a moment ago, he had been wondering why Hong Zhu also had a look of resistance on his face. But now, he understood the ins and outs of the situation. "Ouch. I'm dying of laughter. My stomach hurts." Xie Fei laughed for a long time and almost cried. She patted Shen Jingshuan's shoulder and asked her to explain. Shen Jingxian helplessly shook her head. She looked at Hong Zhu and Hong Yan, who were both stunned and confused, and gently explained, "You've misunderstood. Imperial concubine Xie didn't make it clear just now. When she said dual cultivation, you don't need to hurt your bodies. All you need to do is take off your clothes, put your palms against each other's, and circulate your mental cultivation technique, and cultivate normally. Haven't you seen the legendary Condor heroes? Oh, so that's how it is." Hong Zhu finally understood why Imperial concubine Xia was smiling and couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed. Knowing that she didn't need to offer up her chastity, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but there was also a little disappointment in her heart. It would be better to really prove my innocence this time. This way, I won't have to participate in the sacrificial ceremony. In the end, he didn't expect that he was thinking too much. "Actually, you don't need to take off your clothes." Xiao Chun suddenly spoke and added, "However, when you make a breakthrough, the powerful impact will shatter all your clothes. After all, dual cultivation between a man and a woman is different from ordinary cultivation, and it's also because of this that you can quickly break through to the venerable realm. If you bring a change of clothes, you can ask Imperial concubine Xie to help you carry them, and you can change into a new one if your clothes are torn." Hong Zhu and Hong Yin looked at each other. In order to catch up with the opening of the venerable realm, Hong Zhu had rushed from the secular world to the inner martial world, and then from the Hong clan to the venerable realm in a hurry. He didn't even have time to pack his luggage, so where would he get a change of clothes? Hong Yin naturally didn't bring any clothes, and now she was even more conflicted. This lecher Xiao Chun couldn't have made such a request just to see their naked bodies, right? Seeing the awkward expressions on the two women's faces, and that they didn't immediately respond, Xiao Chun wasn't in a hurry. He indifferently said, "Think about it again. If you think it through and think that it's really unacceptable, then go out like this. If Song Qing-shu and the others ask, just say that you failed to break through. It's not a big deal." In any case, Xiao Chun wasn't really interested in the two women's bodies. If they were shy and unwilling, Xiao Chun wouldn't mind. After all, he wasn't the one who was going to break through to the venerable realm. Hearing Xiao Chun's words, Hong Yin was slightly taken aback and looked at him in disbelief. Logically speaking, a pervert like Xiao Chun should really want to see her body. Why did he suddenly change his mind? Does this guy have some other scheme up his sleeve? Is he trying to advance by taking a step back? There's no need to think about it. I agree to this dual cultivation method. Just as Hong Yan's mind was filled with all kinds of fantasies, Hong Zhu suddenly agreed. She even cast a seductive glance at Xiao Chun and said with a smile, I was accidentally possessed by my younger sister's soul just now. Actually, Xiao Chun, if you still want to take a step further, I can also consider it. Cough cough, there's no need. You just need to take off your clothes and sit cross-legged. Xiao Chun inwardly shook his head. This girl is really too much. She knows that she doesn't need to show her innocence, and she's already starting to tease me again. However, from another perspective, Xiao Chun quite admired Hong Zhu. This showed that she was only teasing him like this because she cultivated seduction techniques. Her heart was actually very pure and conservative, and she wouldn't mess around with just any man. Boring. Hong Zhu didn't continue and even joked. Your two girlfriends are here, so I'd better not seduce you. Otherwise, they'll skin me alive later. Let's begin. After saying that, Hong Zhu very nimbly took off her clothes. Although her face was red, she still calmly stood in front of everyone. Big sister, what are you doing? Hurry up and put your clothes back on. Hong Yan didn't expect Hong Zhu to suddenly do this and was caught off guard. She was greatly startled and hastily picked up her clothes from the ground and hurriedly covered several important parts of her body with them. What's the big deal? I'm just taking off my clothes. Hong Zhu resolutely waved her hand and gently pushed Hong Yan away. He then indifferently said, Hong Yan, if you really don't want to dual cultivate, then you can leave. I've longed for the strength of a venerable for a very long time. After saying that, Hong Zhu took off her clothes and threw them to the side. He took a deep breath and said, Xiao Chun, let's hurry up and begin. Don't waste any more time. Chapter 12:30. The reason why Hong Zhu had made up her mind to do this was because she desperately wanted to become a supremacy. There was not a day that went by that she did not wish to break free from the Hong family's control, escape to the secular world, and live the kind of free life that she loved. In order to realize her wish, what was the big deal about taking off a few pieces of clothing? Moreover, although Hong Zhu did not really like Xiao Chun, she did not dislike him either. She could still keep her chastity, and all she needed to do was take off her clothes in front of him. Hong Zhu naturally would not feel any resistance. If it were any other man, Hong Zhu would not even consider dual cultivation, but Xiao Chun was an exception. He was the only man that she could relax her guard against, and she did not have to worry that he would try anything funny. Besides, Hong Zhu really did not want to go out just like this. If she told Song Qingshu that she had failed to break through, he would definitely cause trouble for Xiao Chun. She did not want to make Xiao Chun take the blame for her own reasons. However, to Hong Zhu's surprise, Xiao Chun did not stare at her body. Instead, he turned his head and calmly said, Hong Yan, I have already opened a small door in the barrier behind you. You can go out from there. Otherwise, if you stay here, you will hinder our dual cultivation. I won't go out. To everyone's surprise, Hong Yan shook her head in an extremely determined manner. Biting her lower lip, she pulled Hong Zhu to her side and pleaded, Big sister, Xiao Chun definitely has other ways to help us break through. If he is not willing, then we should at least go out together. You are my blood sister. How can I let you stay here alone? What if Xiao Chun closed that little door? Before Hong Yan could finish, Hong Zhu had already pulled her hand away and shouted impatiently, Xiao Chun, close that little door. Okay. Xiao Chun was stunned for a moment. He raised his hand slightly, and the entire barrier became seamless again. Big sis, what are you doing? Before Hong Yan could react, Hong Zhu had already reached out and started unbuttoning her clothes. While doing so, he coldly said, Since you don't want to go out, then don't waste your breath. Stay here and accompany me and Xiao Chun in dual cultivation. What are you wasting your breath for? I don't have time to listen to you. Hong Yan was completely dumbfounded. It was only when Hong Zhu took off her jacket that she came to her senses. She jumped 3 feet high and screamed, Ah! Sister, how could you do this? Quickly stop. Haha, little sister Hong Yan, don't be so stubborn. At this time, Xiefei also stood up and came over. she said with a smile. Where can you find a good man like Xiao Chen? In any case, since it has come to this, you might as well become his wife with us. In the future, the four of us can even play mahjong together. As she rambled on, Xiafei stretched out one hand and hugged Hong Yan's legs while skillfully unbuttoning her pants with her other hand. Ah, big sis Xiaofei, you, how could you do this? Hong Yan was both angry and anxious. She was not as strong as Xiafei, so she could not break free no matter how hard she tried. Tears welled up in her eyes as she sobbed. Xiafei ignored her and continued to help Hong Zhu take off Hong Yan's clothes. Hong Yan could only watch helplessly as the clothes and pants on her body were gradually taken off. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and burst into tears. She cried like a pear blossom in the rain. Xiao Chen, don't you think Xiafei and Hong Zhu have gone a little too far? This is not right. How can we force others? You should hurry up and persuade them. Shen Jingxian frowned and said disapprovingly. Although Shen Jingxian did not particularly care about how many girlfriends Xiao Chen had, the premise was that one must sincerely like Xiao Chen. Xiafei's use of such a forceful method was really too much. Little Hong Zhu Xiafei, since Hong Yan is not willing. Seeing Hong Yan crying like that, Xiao Chen also felt a little sorry for her. He nodded and was about to dissuade her, but before he could finish his words, Hong Yan's clothes had all been taken off, and Hong Zhu and Xiafei had even taken them far away, making it impossible for them to get back. Woo-woo, big sis Xiafei, why are you doing this? You are all bullying me. Hong Yan squatted on the ground and cried in a very aggrieved manner. She even tried to cover several important parts of her body with her hands. Because she had been sobbing all this time, her body was still trembling nonstop, which made her look pitiful and tempting. Although it was only a few seconds, Xiao Chen still accidentally saw some things that he should not have seen. He hurriedly looked away, closed his eyes and said with some guilt, Hong Yan, don't blame your big sister and Xiafei. It's all my fault. I didn't explain the situation clearly in advance, which led to this embarrassing situation. But don't worry, I will take responsibility for you. Woo-woo, I don't want you to take responsibility for me. Hearing Xiao Chen's apology, Hong Yan cried even louder. It's all because of you that I ended up like this. You lecher, pervert, scoundrel. You're just crying like a cat crying like a mouse. You're just pretending to be compassionate. The more Hong Yan spoke, the angrier she became. She could not help but raise her head and glare fiercely at Xiao Chen. But when she glared at him, she was surprised to find that Xiao Chen had his eyes closed all this time. He was not looking at her lecherously as she had expected. Even so, Hong Yan's hatred towards Xiao Chen did not diminish in the slightest. If this scoundrel had not appeared at the pharmacy, her relationship with Hong Zhu would not have been so stiff. If this scoundrel had not suddenly offered to help them break through to the martial venerable realm, she would not have to suffer such humiliation here. Even if you close your eyes now, as if to say that you don't have any improper thoughts about me, I still won't believe you. Hong Yan thought hatefully as tears fell from her eyes. Xiao Chen, ignore her. She's just being unreasonable and asking for a beating. Hong Zhu changed his charming and seductive image, and straightforwardly threw Hong Yan's clothes to the side. Then, he walked over and urged, let's hurry up and do dual cultivation. If we don't start now, Song Qingshu and Hong San will very likely become suspicious. Xiafei also nodded and echoed, yes, you've been here for so long, but the seclusion site's protective measures have not been activated. If they find it strange and come in to investigate, it will be troublesome. Although Hong Zhu had never done dual cultivation before, he had heard of how it should be done. So, regardless of whether Hong Yan agreed or not, he grabbed her arm and pulled her up. Chapter 1231. Xiafei also walked over and pulled Hong Yan over to Xiao Chen's side. She arranged for Hong Zhu and Hong Yan to sit on either side of Xiao Chen, then pulled the somewhat dissatisfied Shen Jingxian over as well. The three of them sat in a circle. Although Shen Jingxian did not quite agree with Hong Zhu and Xiafei's approach, it was not appropriate for her to raise any objections at the moment. She had no choice but to helplessly take off her clothes with Xiafei and placed their hands together. Shen Jingxian placed her left hand on Hong Yan's right palm, while her right hand was placed on Xiefei's. Hong Zhu was on Xiefei's side, while Xiao Chun was on Hong Zhu's side. And let's begin. Although Xiao Chun did not open his eyes, his divine sense and mental energy were able to clearly perceive the movements of the people inside the barrier. Seeing that Hong Zhu and Xiefei were so determined, Xiao Chun did not forcibly stop them. After all, he only wanted to cooperate with them in their dual cultivation, and would not do anything outrageous. Seeing that everyone was already seated, Xiao Chun quickly took off his clothes, and placed one hand on Hong Zhu's palm, while extending the other. However, even after waiting for a long time, he still did not feel Hong Yan's hand reaching out to him. As such, it was not appropriate for him to open his eyes, and could only helplessly frown. Hong Zhu had naturally also noticed this situation. Seeing that Hong Yan was still clutching her chest with her hands, as if she had been frightened and refused to let go, Hong Zhu impatiently said, "Hong Yan, if you really don't want to cultivate, then go ahead and cover it up. When Song Qingshu and the others arrive, I'll ask Xiao Chun to remove the barrier, and let them see as much as they want. You can decide for yourself." Recalling that scene, Hong Yan pursed her lips and nearly burst into tears again. But she managed to restrain herself with great difficulty. After looking around, Hong Yan saw that besides Xiao Chun, who still had his eyes closed, Hong Zhu and Xiefei were staring at her coldly, while Shen Jingxian was shaking her head in sympathy and helplessness. She gritted her teeth and struggled fiercely in her heart for a while, but finally made up her mind. She tremblingly stretched out her hand, and placed it on Xiao Chun's palm. When Xiao Chun sensed that the palms of the 5 people had touched each other, he said, "All right, you should first get rid of the distracting thoughts in your minds. Once you've calmed down, you can begin to circulate your mental cultivation technique." The others quickly entered a state of mind. However, Xiao Chun could sense that Hong Yan's thoughts were still not very calm, so her mental cultivation method was not circulating smoothly. Her cultivation was also somewhat sluggish, so he stealthily channeled a sliver of essence into her body without batting an eyelid, helping her calm down the uneasy emotions in her heart. After a while, Hong Yan gradually calmed down. Moreover, the speed at which she circulated her mental cultivation method became faster and smoother. Even she herself was a little surprised. She had no idea why this was happening. However, she couldn't care so much at this time. She wholeheartedly immersed herself in cultivation. However, Xiao Chun didn't notice that the person he was supposed to cultivate with was currently staring straight at his body with her eyes wide open. Her face was flushed, and she would let out a low moan from time to time, as if she was extremely thirsty. Second brother song, I think something's wrong. Outside the seclusion area, third young master Hong waited for a long time, but he still didn't see the white light of the protective array. He couldn't help but say worriedly, "Hong Zhu and Hong Yan have been in there for so long. Why haven't they started cultivating yet? Don't tell me that brat called. Xiao Chun wants to play some tricks? I don't think he would dare to do that, unless he doesn't want to live anymore." Song Qingshu had just snorted when he saw a faint white light gradually illuminate the seclusion area. Third young master Hong was overjoyed. He pointed at the white light and exclaimed happily, "It's lit up, it's lit up." Second brother Song, you're right. I was worrying too much. This Xiao Chun is still reliable. However, Song Qingshu didn't look happy at all. Instead, he frowned and pondered for a while, then said coldly, "After Hong Zhu and Hong Yan successfully break through to the supremacy realm, we must first find out what method that kid used to help them break through successfully. Once we know the inside story, we'll find a chance to get rid of him. This kind of person is too big of a threat to our cultivation sects." It can't be right? Third young master Hong was shocked at first. Then he pinched his chin and pondered for a while. He shook his head disapprovingly and said, "Even if you want to get rid of Xiao Chun, I don't think little Hong Zhu will agree. Moreover, since that kid can help others break through to the supremacy realm so easily, he must have something extraordinary about him. If we can convince him to work for us, it'll actually be pretty good." In fact, third young master Hong valued Xiao Chun's ability, especially his ability to help others break through to the supremacy realm. It was an extremely rare ability. He was a rare talent. Although the supremacy realm was opened every year, and there was an endless stream of people coming to challenge it, there weren't many people who could successfully break through. No, it should be said that there were very few people who could. The reason was very simple. There were very few secluded cultivation spots in the supremacy realm, to begin with. Everyone would have to expend a lot of effort just to fight for them. Even if they managed to snatch one, the pressure from the supremacy realm's origin force would make them feel helpless. After enduring the pressure, it was still a problem whether they could comprehend the meaning of breaking through. Therefore, supremacies were still extremely rare in the martial arts world. In every sect, supremacies were the leaders. If they had Xiao Chen's help, the success rate of the disciples who entered the supremacy realm would be greatly increased. Wouldn't that greatly increase the strength of the immortal cultivation sect? When facing the ghost cultivation sect, they wouldn't have to be restrained anymore. Third young Master Hong, you're too naive. Song Qingshu poured a bucket of cold water on him mercilessly. With Xiao Chen's eccentric personality, he definitely wouldn't be willing to submit to others. Don't think that you can recruit him to our side. Besides, if the other sects in the martial arts world discover this secret, such as our sworn enemy, the Ghost Cultivation sect, we'll be in big trouble. In fact, Song Qingshu was also quite curious about Xiao Chen's ability. However, he felt that since this kid had already used this ability to help Hong Zhu and the others break through, they should have learned it too. In that case, Xiao Chen wasn't important anymore. Well, according to what you said, it makes sense. Then let's wait for them to come out and act according to the circumstances. If it really doesn't work, we'll ask Xiao Chen to go back first and decide what to do after he returns home. Third young Master Hong nodded slightly and agreed with Song Qingshu. Although third young Master Hong cherished talents, compared to the safety of the immortal cultivation sect, the safety of the entire sect was naturally more important. If Xiao Chen couldn't be used by the immortal cultivation sect, then it was better not to leave him in front of others. Chapter 1232. Although the two people outside were whispering to each other and discussing countermeasures, Xiao Chen, who was in seclusion, had no idea what they were planning. This was because he had just successfully helped Hong Zhu and Hong Yin break through to the martial honor stage. At the same time, he was surprised to discover that after 2 rounds of dual cultivation, his cultivation had actually reached the nascent soul stage. When he helped Shen Jingxian and Xiefei break through, Xiao Chen had already broken through from the 7th level of the nascent soul stage to the 9th level of the nascent soul stage. That feeling was extremely wonderful. He did not expect that he would jump 2 levels in a row. Xiao Chen could even faintly touch the barrier of the next stage. Xiao Chen, I found that there is something wrong with you. As Xiao Chen was feeling the changes in his strength, Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly said in his sea of consciousness. Ah, it can't be. Elder Heaven Ancestor, don't scare me. Is it because I have leveled up too fast that there is something abnormal in my body? After hearing what Elder Heaven Ancestor said, Xiao Chen's heart suddenly tightened. He hurriedly used Yuan Qi to look at his dantian and meridians. In the end, after a round of inspection, he did not find anything wrong. He suddenly felt a little puzzled. I am not too sure. But as far as I know, even with the dual cultivation method, it is impossible for a person to level up so many times in a short period of time. And you are now almost at the profound ascension stage. This kind of explosive growth is simply incredible. Elder Heaven Ancestor shook his head and was so surprised that he could not close his mouth. So the next level is the profound ascension stage. Does that mean I can learn an even more powerful skill? Tell me quickly. Xiao Chen nodded and shrugged his shoulders. He did not feel that there was anything strange about Elder Heaven Ancestor's amazement. Anyway, his own cultivation speed had always been almost the same as riding a rocket. He had long been used to it. Well, let's wait until you really break through to the profound ascension stage. Your leveling speed is really too fast. I have to check the Heavens Seizing Fortune battle art first. If I find any problems, I'll let you know later. The elder heaven ancestor then added, how strange. This kid's cultivation is almost catching up to mine. Isn't it just cultivating against the flow? How can you be so awesome? Hearing the elder heaven ancestor's mutterings, Xiao Chun shook his head helplessly. It seemed that the elder heaven ancestor did not discover any problems, but was surprised because Xiao Chun's cultivation speed was too fast, about to surpass the elder heaven ancestor's speed in the past. Elder Sky did not say anything else, so Xiao Chun collected his thoughts. He did not immediately stop circulating his mental cultivation method. Instead, he continued to dual cultivate with the girls until all four of them had consolidated their martial supremacy cultivation base. Only then did he slowly exhale and stop cultivating. He closed his eyes and focused his mind, feeling that the pressure around her gradually weakened. Hong Yin immediately let go of Xiao Chen's hand, fearing that he would open his eyes at any time. She quickly turned around, picked up her clothes and put them on. With her back facing Xiao Chun, Hong Yin secretly wiped away the tears on her face, and then stood there silently, not knowing what to say for a while. Although Xiao Chun did not open his eyes before and after the cultivation, Hong Yan's disgust for Xiao Chun still did not decrease. The idea that Xiao Chun was a lecher had always been deeply rooted in her mind. But now, this big lecher had helped her break through to the venerable realm and had become her benefactor. Hong Yan did not know how she should treat him. Hong Zhu did not hurry to put on his clothes, but instead stared at his hands, feeling the surging power in his body, his heart filled with joy. He had finally become a venerable expert. His long-cherished wish of many years had finally been fulfilled. Next, he would find a chance to escape from the Hong family, then hide from grandfather patriarch's eyes and ears, quietly live in seclusion in the secular world, and live a carefree life. Little brother Xiao Chun, thank you so much for your help this time. I don't know how to thank you. How about, big sister here dedicates my life to you? In any case, you've always been fantasizing about me. So how about I stay by your side from now on and serve you well? Hong Zhu's eyes turned, and she moved closer to Xiao Chun, speaking in a seductive voice. Hong Zhu really did not make such a suggestion, because she wanted to thank Xiao Chun. She was thinking that after she escaped from the Hong family, if she could make use of Xiao Chun's connections in the secular world, she might be able to find a good place to hide. In any case, this kid was very clever, and had many tricks up his sleeves. He would definitely be able to help her. Oh, there's no need for that. You should put on your clothes first. Xiao Chun sensed someone approaching him, and smelled the fragrance of a woman's body. His heart moved slightly, and he subconsciously stepped back. Are you for real? You wouldn't dislike me, would you? Hong Zhu was startled, and immediately put on a heartbroken expression. She clasped her heart and said, back then, you and I were so lovey-dovey, so tender and sweet. If I couldn't see you for even a day, I would think of you day and night. Now it's only been a year, and you're actually saying that I'm old and withered. Stop messing around. When did we become lovey-dovey? Be careful, or I'll sue you for slander. Xiao Chen's head was about to explode. Goddess Shun was still listening on the side, so he could not let others misunderstand. Without waiting for Hong Zhu to speak again, Xiao Chun helplessly spread out his hands and said, all right, Hong Zhu, don't think too much about it. This is just a small matter, so you don't need to be too touched. Just treat it as me repaying you for taking Shun Jingxian to cultivate, and taking good care of her this year. It was not that Xiao Chun wanted to play the part of a gentleman, but he had never felt particularly strongly about Hong Zhu, and only saw her as a friend. Besides, if this invincible little demoness really got together with him, wouldn't she eat him up? He wouldn't be able to bear it. Aya, don't be in such a hurry to refuse. It's not too late to think about it first. Although Hong Zhu had been rejected, she did not take it to heart. She covered her mouth and giggled a few times, then picked up the clothes on the ground and put them on. Shun Jingxian was both angry and amused at this scene, and she shook her head. Fortunately, she had been with Hong Zhu for a long time, so she already understood her temperament. Otherwise, if it was her in the past, she might really have misunderstood. After Hong Zhu finished putting on her clothes, she turned around and saw that Hong Yan was still silently standing to the side. Her face immediately sank, and she coldly said, "Hong Yan, Xiaochen spent so much effort to help us break through to the martial honor realm. But you didn't even say a word of thanks. You're really shameless." Thank you, Xiaochen." Hong Yan trembled and stammered, but her tone did not sound sincere at all. Instead, there was a trace of resentment. Moreover, her back was still facing Xiaochen, and she did not turn around. Chapter 1233. It's fine, don't listen to your sister's nonsense. It's just a slight effort, it didn't take much effort. Xiaochen waved his hand. When he sensed that Hong Zhu had already put on his clothes, he opened his eyes and indifferently said, "All right, since you've all consolidated your cultivation, my task is complete. Let's go out now." Before Xiaochen could finish speaking, he suddenly felt someone hugging him tightly from behind. Their soft and warm skin pressed against each other. It was as if he could feel the blood pulsing under that layer of skin. It was lively and full of life. Before Xiaochen could react, an enchanting voice resounded in his ears. "Great White Fox, don't be in such a hurry to go out. Why don't we take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have some fun and enjoy the pleasures between a man and a woman, so that we don't waste this beautiful scenery? What do you think?" Xiaochen didn't need to turn his head to know from the voice that the person behind him was undoubtedly CFA. He closed his eyes again, trying his best to ignore the rich fragrance of a woman and the soft feeling of her delicate body pressed against his. He calmly said, "CFA, do you know what you're saying?" When he was helping Hong Zhu and Hong Yin make breakthroughs, Xiaochen had already noticed that CFA, who was sitting across from him, was a little absent-minded. Instead of consolidating her cultivation, her mind was filled with all sorts of nonsense. Fortunately, CFA had already broken through to the supremacy realm, so she wouldn't be in any danger. Under the influence of others, she didn't suffer any cultivation deviation. Xiaochen had thought that everything would be fine after she finished her cultivation, so he didn't expect her to do something even more exaggerated. Shen Jingxian and Hong Zhu were a little dumbfounded when they saw CFA leaning against Xiaochen, not knowing how to react. Even Hong Yan, who had her back to Xiaochen, turned her head slightly to see what was going on. Great White Fox, don't be so cold to me." CFA pouted and hugged Xiaochen even tighter as she muttered, "I've already come to you on my own accord, can't you at least comfort me? Besides, you won't lose out in this kind of thing, so what's the big deal?" CFA's eyes were misty as she leaned on Xiaochen's broad and strong back. Feeling the strong masculine scent on his body, she became even more mesmerized. She couldn't help but stretch out her hand and continuously caress his pectoral muscles. Furthermore, her hand was gradually moving downwards. Xiaochen's body stiffened. He did not dare to pull concubine Xia down, nor did he dare to respond. His relationship with concubine Xia had never been close. Today, when she suddenly said that she wanted to serve him with Shen Jingxian, Xiaochen was already a little surprised. Now that this had happened, he really did not know what to do. In desperation, he could only look at the other women for help. "Consort Xia, how could you do this? Even if you like Xiaochen, you can't do such a thing in front of Hong Zhu and Hong Yan. This is wrong. Hurry up and stop." When Shen Jingxian felt Xiaochen's gaze, she shuddered and immediately shouted to stop him. Although she was not averse to such matters between men and women, it should also be done on different occasions. She wanted to be with Xiaochen in front of unrelated people. Wasn't that just giving them a free show? "That's right, senior sister Xiaofei. You don't act recklessly." Hong Zhu was also startled. Looking at concubine Xia's appearance, he suddenly thought of something and frowned. "It's over, concubine Xia's illness is acting up." "Acting up? What illness?" "Hong Zhu, hurry up and explain. How can we save her? If it goes on like this." Shen Jingxian was taken aback. She immediately pulled Hong Zhu and asked. Originally, Shen Jingxian was a little dissatisfied with concubine Xia's desire, but now that she knew that concubine Xia's illness was acting up, All that was left in her heart was anxiety and worry. All she could think of was how to cure concubine Xia. This was the innate kindness of Shen Jingxian. Hangzhu wanted to say something but hesitated. Seeing that concubine Xia's actions were becoming more and more intense, he could only look at Xiao Chun and say with some embarrassment, "Xiao Chun, you quickly think of a way." When senior sister Xiao Fei first started cultivating the art of charm, she accidentally fell into cultivation deviation. So from time to time, she would have physiological needs. Unless she can do it herself in time, the consequences will be unimaginable. What the hell? Isn't this clearly a trap? Why didn't you say so earlier? Xiao Chen finally understood and immediately got up, quickly put on his clothes and pulled concubine Xia up from behind him. At this time, concubine Xia's skin was emitting waves of red, her eyes were blurred, and her expression was hot and restless. Her breath was short and fragrant, and it was obvious that she was about to fall into cultivation deviation. Seeing that the situation was far from good, Xiao Chen immediately grabbed concubine Xia's wrist and infused his yuan qi into her body, temporarily suppressing her restless desires. After a while, concubine Xia gradually calmed down and no longer pestered Xiao Chen for comfort. Instead, she slowly fell into a deep slumber, the red blush on her body slowly receding and her breathing becoming calmer. Only then did Xiao Chen breathe a sigh of relief. "Xiao Chen, how is concubine Xia?" Shen Jingxian asked nervously from the side. Seeing concubine Xia's unconscious appearance, Shen Jingxian felt a little guilty and inwardly blamed herself for wrongly blaming concubine Xia. However, she really hadn't expected that cultivating the art of charm would lead to cultivation deviation. Shen Jingxian inwardly reminded herself that she would have to be more careful when cultivating in the future, lest she end up like concubine Xia and make a fool of herself in public. She's fine for the time being, but I'm only treating the symptoms, not the root cause. Xiao Chen shook his head as he used his yuan qi to examine concubine Xia's meridians and dantian. "Ah, why? Sister concubine Xia is so pitiful. Can't you cure her directly?" Shen Jingxian worriedly looked at concubine Xia and couldn't help but ask. "And there's still an urge in her body, which is what we call a heart demon. I can't remove it, and it could erupt at any time." Xiao Chen frowned and turned to Hangzhu. "Little Hangzhu, let me ask you, what is the matter with the art of charm that you cultivate? Will a heart demon appear as long as you cultivate? You and Shen Jingxian wouldn't also erupt, right?" "You can rest assured, Jingxian and I have never encountered any accidents while cultivating the art of charm, so it won't end up like senior sister Xiaofei." Hangzhu rarely teased Xiao Chen, but instead let out a faint sigh. However, what made Hangzhu feel a little gratified was that Xiao Chen had actually taken the initiative to show concern for his condition. This was something that he had never expected, and he had originally thought that Xiao Chen wasn't interested in him. Shen Jingxian also felt that Xiao Chen cared for her, and her heart was moved and warm. She subconsciously stretched out her hand and gently held Xiao Chen's hand. Chapter 1234. Xiao Chen smiled faintly at Shen Jingxian, patted the back of her hand, and asked, "How did consort Xia's cultivation go berserk the first time? What exactly happened at that time?" Hangzhu lowered his head and thought for a moment. He found it difficult to speak about consort Xia's situation and was momentarily at a loss for words. Shen Jingxian and Xiao Chen's fingers were intertwined as they stared at Hangzhu. She also wanted to know what exactly happened to consort Xia, so she did not say anything and quietly listened. After a moment of thought, Hangzhu took a deep breath, gnashed his teeth and said, "Back then, when consort Xia was still in her budding years, she fell in love with a man from another sect, but that man had no interest in consort Xia at all. If an ordinary person had no interest in her, they would have directly rejected her. But that man actually took advantage of consort Xia's feelings and hooked up with a senior sister from my sect. Ah, damn it! How could he do that? This is too evil." Shen Jingxian could not help covering her mouth and exclaiming. Because of this, after senior sister Xiao Fei learned the truth, She began to abandon herself to despair, leaving behind a knot in her heart. At this point, Hongzhu reached out to smooth Consort Xia's beautiful hair and continued. Later on, during one of her cultivation sessions, she was unable to overcome this inner demon and nearly went berserk. Fortunately, her sect master discovered it in time and saved her. Xiao Chun stared at Consort Xia's unconscious face and already knew the outcome of this matter. Consort Xia must have been unable to resist her inner demon, causing her to become like this and become somewhat impulsive. Thinking about how Consort Xia's husband, Wang Xiongzhuang, had never shared the same bed with her, so Consort Xia must have suffered a lot. Sure enough, Hongzhu continued. Although sect master saved her life, he was unable to help her get rid of her inner demon. So senior sister Xiao Fei was left with a sequela. From time to time, she would want to do that with a man. Unless she could be satisfied and released, it was very likely that her body would explode and she would die. Humph. Another scumbag. Without waiting for Xiao Chun to speak, Hong Yan, who was standing far away, snorted first. She glanced at Xiao Chun, intentionally or unintentionally, and cursed angrily. I didn't expect Consort Xia to have such a complicated past. Xiao Chun naturally felt Hong Yan's hostility, but he didn't take it seriously. He just felt that it was unfair for the poor Xia Fei. After a thorough examination of Consort Xia's body, Xiao Chun confirmed that her vitals had stabilized, and there were no abnormalities. He then used his primordial qi to wake her up. Before Consort Xia completely woke up, Xiao Chun specially instructed the other women. By the way, when Consort Xia wakes up later, don't mention anything about her past. Just pretend that no one knows about it. Xin Jingxian and the rest nodded in agreement. They looked at Xia Fei, and their hearts were filled with sympathy for her. However, Hong Yan was a little surprised as she looked at Xiao Chun. She didn't expect this guy to be so meticulous. Could it be that he was pretending to be a lecher? Oh, Xiao Chun Jingxian Hongzhu? What happened? Why do I seem to have fallen asleep? After a while, Xia Fei let out a low moan and slowly opened her eyes. She swept her gaze over everyone present, a confused look on her face, as if she had no recollection of what had just happened. Hongzhu was stunned for a moment before he quickly explained. Senior sister Xiao Fei, your old illness relapsed just now. You hugged Xiao Chun like a madman, kissed and touched him, and you almost pushed him down and started working. Ah, I actually did that. Xia Fei was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. Her face flushed red as she stammered. Then what happened? After that, Hongzhu chuckled as he glanced at Xiao Chun. He then replied unhurriedly. After that, it was fortunate that Xiao Chun was decent enough to stop you in time. He even treated you. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the two of you would have done some indecent things right there in front of everyone. Xia Fei hurriedly turned to look at Xiao Chun and said apologetically, Xiao Chun, I'm really sorry. I've let you witness such a laughable scene. This is already an old illness of mine. Previously, when I was cultivating the charm technique, my mind was restless, and I ended up suffering from cultivation deviation. I nearly lost my life, and even ended up with this chronic illness. I'm really sorry. According to Hongzhu, I should be fine now, right? It's fine. Hongzhu has already told me about your situation, so I helped you treat it. Xiao Chun helped Xia Fei up, and gave a simple answer. After Xia Fei stood up, Xiao Chun let go of her hand. After all, the two of them were not officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Xiao Chun didn't want to be too intimate with her, as he felt a little awkward in his heart. After Xiao Chun let go of her hand, Xia Fei blankly grasped at the air for a moment before letting go, feeling a little disappointed. Xiao Chun didn't notice this scene and indifferently continued. As for your illness, I haven't completely cured it yet. I've only temporarily suppressed it. After all, this is your heart demon. As the saying goes, a heart disease needs medicine to cure it. You'll have to slowly adjust yourself in the future. Sooner or later, you'll be able to recover. Oh, then thank you. Xia Fei put away her disappointed mood and nodded in agreement. Xia Fei also understood that Xiao Chun was deliberately keeping a distance from her. Although she was a little depressed, she had no intention of giving up. It was said that a woman chasing a man was separated by a thin layer of yarn. CFA firmly believed that Xiao Chun would accept her sooner or later. "You're welcome. It's nothing." Xiao Chun looked up at the sky and said with a smile, "Well, it's almost time. Let's go out and meet the two people first. I don't want them to get impatient waiting outside and start grumbling." After that, Xiao Chun removed the barrier around them and removed the camouflage. He held Shen Jingshuan's hand and strode out of the seclusion site. Hong Yan followed behind Xiao Chun and Shen Jingxian in confusion. She stared at Xiao Chun's calm back in confusion. She felt that this so-called lecher was becoming more and more difficult to understand. When CFA was acting up, this guy actually didn't take advantage of her. Could it be that he was really unmoved by CFA's temptation? No. It must be because there were too many people present at the time. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, Xiao Chun didn't dare to act too presumptuously, so he pretended to be a good person to confuse others. That Shen Jingxian must have been tricked by him in this way. This person is really too bad. Hong Zhu and CFA walked at the very back. The two women tacitly looked at each other, their eyes seemingly hiding a very deep meaning. Seeing that Xiao Chun had walked far away, Hong Zhu said in a low voice, "Senior sister Xiao Chun, your acting skills are quite good. You clearly remember what you did, yet you deliberately pretended to have amnesia. Even Xiao Chun was tricked by you. Brilliant. Truly brilliant." Chapter 1235. Little Hong Zhu, you even dare to tease your senior sister? CFA lightly knocked on Hong Zhu's head and pouted. "Ayo, don't hit me. If I hadn't helped you out, you might have been even more embarrassed." Hong Zhu protested with a grin. CFA smiled faintly as she stared at Xiao Chun's back with a gentle expression. Although he wasn't very imposing, he was still standing proudly and said, "In fact, I really should thank you because I don't know how to explain that matter to Xiao Chun. Fortunately, you took the initiative to explain it to him. Otherwise he would definitely think of me as a female sex fiend. Don't worry. Xiao Chun isn't the kind of narrow-minded person who can't distinguish right from wrong, and he won't dislike you because of this matter. I'm guessing that he will accept you sooner or later. You just have to wait to marry into the Xiao family and accompany his wives." Hong Zhu squinted his eyes and consoled. But CFA suddenly thought of something and frowned, hesitating to speak. "What's wrong?" Hong Zhu asked in confusion when he saw CFA's strange expression. "It's nothing. It's just that you missed something just now." CFA blushed and hesitated for a moment before whispering, "Actually, I've never done that with a man." "Ah." Hong Zhu was taken aback. He focused his mind and thought for a moment before saying in a soft voice, "I know that you and your senior brother didn't make love, but after you suffered cultivation deviation, you developed a mental barrier and went to the secular world. So I don't know what happened after that. Then when you had an attack, what did you do?" Cough cough. "You just said that as long as I can release it, my heart demon will be alleviated." Although CFA was a little embarrassed, she didn't hide anything from her closest junior sister, and explained in a low voice, "If you want to release it, you don't necessarily need a man. You can solve it yourself." "Oh, so that's how it is." Hong Zhu suddenly understood. No wonder CFA had said that she had never been with a man, even though she had clearly lost her virginity. It turned out that she was referring to himself. Thinking of this, Hong Zhu patted the back of CFA's hand and comforted her with a smile. "Don't worry. I'll find a chance in the future to help you talk to Xiao Chun. I'll make sure he doesn't have a knot in his heart." "Hee. It seems that you know Xiao Chun quite well." After revealing her most private secret, CFA suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. She pulled Hong Zhu's hand and teased him with a smile. "How is it? Little Hong Zhu, do you want to consider marrying Xiao Chun together with Big Sister? This way, we can stay together every day and go wherever we want to play." "Sigh. Senior Martial Sister Xiao Fei, you are too optimistic. The Cultivation World's sacrificial ceremony is about to begin. At that time, we will all become the sacrificial offerings of our clans. Whether we can come back alive is still unknown. Let's wait until we are truly safe and sound. Although Hongju was somewhat tempted, he still sighed in the end. TSK, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. With your temper, you definitely won't willingly become a sacrificial offering. I'm guessing that you've already thought of a way to escape, right? CFA took a deep look at Hongju. She knew this junior martial sister of hers quite well after spending so many years together. Hongju chuckled and whispered, I can hide it from others, but I can't escape your eyes. In fact, I want to take advantage of the fact that before the sacrificial ceremony begins, just as he was about to reveal his entire plan, Hongju suddenly saw Song Qingshu walking towards them from not far away. He hurriedly stopped himself and gave CFA a meaningful look, whispering, Forget it. I'll find a chance to discuss it with you later. For now, we should first deal with this silly boy from the Song family. CFA nodded slightly. She could more or less guess what Hongju planned to do next. It was nothing more than finding a place to hide, and try not to be found by the Hong family, as much as possible. Once the storm of the sacrificial ceremony was over, they could then consider what to do next. However, CFA felt that although Hongju's plan was good, the Hong family was a member of the immortal cultivation sect, and had eyes all over Huaxia. It would not be that easy for her to hide. Hongju, CFA, are the two of you all right? Song Qingshu walked up to them and asked with a concerned look on his face. Song Qingshu finally felt a lot more at ease when he sensed the aura of a martial supremacy coming from Hongju's body. After all, it had been too long since Hongju and Hong Yan had made their breakthroughs, so he was worried that something might have happened to them. Of course we're fine. Do you want something to happen to us? Do you even know how to talk? Hongju rolled his eyes and grumbled with a pout. No, that's not what I meant. Although Song Qingshu was usually very arrogant, he was completely helpless in front of the little she-devil Hongju. He hurriedly and carefully explained, I saw that Hong Yan seemed to be a little absent-minded when she came out. Third young master Hong asked her a few questions, but she didn't answer them. That's why I specifically came to find you to understand more about the situation. Hong Yan usually has this kind of muddle-headed personality. What's so strange about that? Just ignore her. Hongju shrugged and glared at Hong Yan from afar, secretly warning her not to say anything that she should not say. I see. Fortunately, all of you have advanced to the martial supremacy realm. This trip to the mystery realm was not in vain. Song Qingshu nodded and did not think too much about it. Hongju could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Song Qingshu. He looked past him and said to Xiao Chun, Little brother Xiao Chun, do you have any other matters to attend to? If not, why don't you come with us to the Hong residence for a few days? Let big sister treat you well. I believe you have a lot to talk about with your goddess Shen, right? Xiao Chun pondered for a moment before he said, Nothing important, but before Xiao Chun could finish speaking, Song Qingshu suddenly had a brainwave. He suddenly remembered what he and third young master Hong were discussing outside, so he hurriedly said, Hongju is right. Since little brother Xiao has helped us so much, we should also properly thank you. Moreover, we might need your help in the future. We hope that little brother Xiao can do us the honor and come to the Hong residence and Song residence for a chat. Who's your brother? Don't randomly call people relatives over there. Xiao Chun did not hide his disdain for Song Qingshu. Song Qingshu had been given the cold shoulder. He wanted to flare up, but Hongju was glaring at him like a tiger watching its prey. He could only resentfully turn his head and pretend that he had not heard anything. Xiao Chun did not object to going to the Hong residence as a guest. However, even if he wanted to go, he had to first pick up Jiao Muzin, Cheng Minjing, and the others. Chapter 1236. However, Xiao Chun had another question, so he turned to Hongju and asked, That's right, little Hongju. I heard you mention something about a sacrificial ceremony in the cultivation world. What is that? When CFA and Hongju heard Xiao Chun's question, they both stared blankly for a moment. CFA's face, which had already returned to normal, suddenly turned red again, and she subconsciously took a step back. He heard it. when she and Hongju were whispering about the sacrificial ceremony in the cultivation world. He had actually heard it. This meant that the little secret that she had told Hongju before had also been heard by Xiao Chun, without missing a single word. Xiefei's first reaction was to feel shy, but after she took a step back, she came to her senses. What was she feeling shy about? She had originally wanted to tell him these words, but now, Hongju didn't need to find an opportunity to repeat them. Hongju was in a daze, because she suddenly remembered that Shen Jingxian was also going to participate in the sacrificial ceremony. For a moment, she didn't know how to explain it to Xiao Chen, so she could only stammer and vaguely say, "It's nothing. It's just a ceremony to open the cultivation world." Hongju didn't dare to tell the truth to Xiao Chen, because she knew this guy's temperament very well. If he knew the ins and outs of this matter, then he would definitely not let Shen Jingxian take the risk. It was very likely that he would even stop Lu Shuangshuang and Ke Lin. If that happened, he would forcibly stop the sacrificial ceremony. In this way, Xiao Chun would inevitably offend those people from the cultivation sects, which would cause him a lot of trouble. But if she didn't explain it in detail, Xiao Chun was not a fool, and would certainly ask for the details. When that time came, how could she cover up this lie? Roar! Just as Hongju was hesitating, gusts of cold wind suddenly began to blow around his seclusion area, and a deafening roar came from the nearby forest, as if it was coming from some terrifying and ferocious beast. Everyone, who had their own thoughts, immediately became alert and looked in the direction of the roar. They heard the rustling of leaves, and not long after, a pair of green things appeared in the depths of the forest. They kept moving toward them, and they seemed to be moving very fast. They were like two the wisps that were getting bigger and bigger, and they were particularly eye-catching in the dark forest. Xiao Chen, what is that? Shen Jingxian was scared out of her wits. She grabbed Xiao Chen's hand tightly, and unconsciously took a step back, hiding behind Xiao Chen. "I think it should be a wandering beast, and it's quite strong." Xiao Chen's voice was a little solemn. He took a step forward and blocked Shen Jingxuan's petite body. Even Xiao Chen found the roar a little ear-piercing. Therefore, he immediately determined that the beast was not weak, and it was at least on equal footing with him. But shouldn't the strength of all living beings be suppressed in the venerable secret realm? Why could this beast release its full strength? Could it be that there was something special about it? The rest of them also looked a little pale. A few girls took small steps back, while Song Qingshu and third young master Hong stared at the forest, extremely nervous and alert. Song Qingshu and third young master Hong could clearly feel that the thing running in the forest should be stronger than them. Swoosh! Just as everyone was feeling anxious and guessing, they saw a snow-white beast suddenly rushing out of the forest. Xiao Chen looked over, and saw that the beast had a lion's face, slender limbs covered in thick white fur, a thick and long tail hanging on the ground, and a pair of eyes that were like two copper bells, glowing with a faint green light. It stared at Xiao Chun and the others, looking extremely terrifying. "What the hell is this? What the hell is this?" Xiao Chun frowned. He felt a little helpless as he looked at the beast that was much taller than him, and had never seen before. Roar! Before anyone could react, the white beast roared angrily, and suddenly revealed the powerful aura of a level 7 honored realm. Then it raised its front hooves and smashed them heavily on the ground. With a muffled dong sound, a shockwave visible to the naked eye spread rapidly along the ground with the gigantic beast at the center, attacking Xiao Chun and the others. "Everyone be careful!" Xiao Chun immediately shouted a warning. He grabbed Shen Jingxian, who was behind him, tightly. Then, he felt the ground beneath his feet shake, as if he had encountered a strong earthquake. It felt like the mountains were collapsing, and the earth was cracking. Fortunately, Xiao Chun was already an expert at the perfected original infant stage, and he was supporting Shen Jingxian, so the two of them were not affected. Although they swayed left and right, they still stood firm in the end. However, the others were not so lucky. They were all waving their arms and legs, screaming in fear, and fell to the ground one after another. It was a rather embarrassing scene. As for the white beast, it did not move, and its pair of green eyes swept across everyone present. In Xiao Chen's opinion, it was as if it had a mind of its own, and by observing everyone, it was sifting through something. Before everyone could stand up, the white beast exhaled a cloud of white gas from its nose, and suddenly locked onto Hong Zhu and Hong Yan as its targets, and rushed toward them. "Bastard, you're courting death." Song Qingshu was shocked, and she was the first to jump up. Although she knew that the white beast was stronger than her, she did not hesitate to activate her mental cultivation method, and displayed the cultivation of a level 5 martial honor. She swung her palm at the beast with all her might. Seeing this, third young master Hong did not dare to be negligent. After all, he knew that Song Qingshu might not be able to kill the white beast by herself. Therefore he also flew over and punched it hard. Bang! As third young master Hong was closer to the white beast, his punch arrived first, and landed on the beast's head first. However, it did not affect the white beast at all. Instead he howled, feeling that the bones in his fingers were about to break. On the other side, Song Qingshu's palm wind arrived and slammed heavily on the giant beast's body. However, the result was not much different from third young master Hong's. It was like hitting cotton, and the giant white beast did not stop at all. The harassment of the two ants not only failed to stop the white beast, but also angered it. The white beast suddenly shook its head, and third young master Hong, who was caught off guard, was sent flying and fell heavily on the ground not far away. Blood immediately flowed out of his nose and mouth, and he fainted without a sound. Third young master Hong. Song Qingshu was shocked, and she quickly ran toward third young master Hong. However, she had only taken a few steps when she suddenly heard an ear-piercing sound behind her. Chapter 1237. Alarms went off in Song Qingshu's heart. He quickly turned his head to look, and saw that the white beast was waving its thick and long tail. Like a whip, it drew a strange arc in the air and lashed at him. Motherf ***. Song Qingshu was both shocked and enraged. He cursed under his breath and hurriedly crouched down. The tail whizzed past his head. Song Qingshu breathed a long sigh of relief, after narrowly avoiding the fatal blow. Just as he was secretly rejoicing in his luck, the familiar sound of something tearing through the air rang out behind him once again. Song Qingshu's expression changed greatly. He had never imagined that the white beast's tail would be so agile. He had just raised his body, and before he could even react, the beast's thick tail had already bound his body. Not only had the white beast bound Song Qingshu, but its tail was also tightening around him. Song Qingshu felt as if he had been entangled by a giant python. No matter how hard he struggled, it was useless. Even if he exhausted all his strength, he would not be able to break free from the fate of being bound. Crack! Not long after, the clear sound of bones breaking was heard. Song Qingshu's vision went black, and he immediately lost consciousness. His head drooped weakly. It could only be said that the white beast had no intention of taking third young master Hong and Song Qingshu's lives. After knocking them out, it released its tail and tossed Song Qingshu aside. Then, it took a step forward again, and slowly approached Hong Zhu and Hong Yan. Hong Yan and Hong Zhu's faces were deathly pale. They stumbled back step by step, unable to muster up any will to resist. Just as the white beast was about to touch the two women, a figure suddenly flashed out and blocked its path. Although I don't know what you're trying to do, I advise you not to take another step forward. Otherwise, this young master will let you have a taste of being electrocuted until your bones turn white. The newcomer was none other than Xiao Chen. He shielded Shen Jingxian and the others behind him. He formed two electric balls with his hands and stared coldly at the giant white beast in front of him, warning sternly. Although Xiao Chen sensed that the beast in front of him only had the strength of a level 7 martial honor, he did not underestimate it at all. Even if he did not take into account the fact that it had easily killed 2 cultivators, Xiao Chen knew that it was an extraordinary creature based on the fact that the beast's level was not suppressed in the martial honor's secret realm. Perhaps the white beast understood Xiao Chen's words, or perhaps it was afraid of the electric ball in his hand. It immediately stopped in its tracks and stood a short distance away, facing off against Xiao Chen. Very well, Since you know how powerful my thunderball technique is, why don't you scram? Everyone here is under my protection. You don't have a chance. Xiao Chen saw that the white beast had stopped moving and was overjoyed in his heart. The women behind Xiao Chen all had different expressions when they heard his words. Shen Jingxian naturally looked at him with a gentle gaze. Although Xie Fei was afraid, she was also faintly happy. Hong Zhu could not help but roll his eyes at the back of Xiao Chen's head. Only Hong Yan stomped her foot angrily, but she did not dare to protest at this time. However, Xiao Chen's threat did not work this time. The white beast did not retreat. Instead, it anxiously shifted its feet and continued to sweep its green eyes over Hong Yan and Hong Zhu. Its eyes were filled with greed. What's wrong? You still won't leave, right? It seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't give up today. Xiao Chen said fiercely when he saw that the white beast had no intention of leaving. He then pushed his hands forward and quickly threw 2 electric balls at it. Roar! The white beast let out a loud roar and did not seem to have any intention of dodging. Instead, it went straight to meet the 2 electric balls, one on the head and the other on the chest. 2 bolts of blue lightning immediately exploded on its body. Although it wasn't like when Xiao Chen smashed the Awakening Heaven sect's disciples, which caused them to be charred black and killed on the spot, it still had an obvious effect. The electric current flickered with blue light in the white fur of the huge beast, constantly shuttling back and forth. The white beast was obviously suffering from the electric currents and could not help but wail in pain. Its huge body trembled a little, but it still managed to hold on and did not collapse. Oh, I didn't expect you to be so resistant to lightning. Why don't you try 2 more? The corners of Xiao Chen's mouth drew a cold arc, and he condensed 2 electric balls in his hands. He did not forget to taunt. Don't worry, Xiao Chen is in a good mood today. I'll give these 2 to you for free. Enjoy them, or else you won't get another chance like this. After saying that, Xiao Chen raised his hand and directly threw the 2 electric balls at the white beast without choosing an angle. However, this time, the white beast did not resist. It had obviously realized that it was no match for Xiao Chen. When it saw the 2 electric balls flying at it again, its green eyes flashed with fear. It immediately turned around and fled into the depths of the forest. Shen Jingxian, Hong Zhu, and the others saw the white beast turn around and flee. They all breathed a long sigh of relief, and their originally nervous mood immediately relaxed. As for Xiao Chen, he still had a grave expression on his face as he watched the white beast flee. At this moment, not only did he not feel the joy of victory, but an ominous feeling welled up in his heart. This was because the seclusion point where Jia Muzhen and Cheng Menjing were cultivating happened to be the direction in which the white beast was fleeing. Little Hong Zhu Jingxian, take Song Qingshu and 3rd young master Hong away from here first. Xiao Chen turned around and quickly instructed. I must follow them immediately and eliminate this beast. Otherwise, Cheng Menjing and the others will be in danger. After giving a few simple instructions, Xiao Chen immediately used his movement technique to chase after them. He secretly prayed that Cheng Menjing and the others would obediently stay in the seclusion point after they finished consolidating their cultivation and would not run around. Ah, Menjing is here too. Shen Jingxian exclaimed. Why did Menjing also come to the venerable realm? With her insignificant strength, wouldn't it be very dangerous for her to stay here? As she worriedly watched Xiao Chen's figure quickly disappear into the fog, Shen Jingxian suddenly thought of something and immediately shouted. Xiao Chen, will you come back? Should we wait for you here? After shouting, Shen Jingxian waited for a while, but did not hear any response. Forget it, Jingxian. I reckon that Xiao Chen ran too quickly and can't hear us now. Hong Zhu comforted Shen Jingxian and patted her shoulder. In fact, she also wanted to know if Xiao Chen would come back. After all, Song Huawu and the others were still staying with the Hong family and were searching for Xiao Chen's whereabouts with Hong Ying. Chapter 1238. Heavens! Hong Zhu slapped his forehead and blamed himself with a vexed expression. I actually forgot to tell Xiao Chen about Song Huawu and the others. What should we do now? Are we really going to stay in this dangerous place and wait for him to return? Hong Zhu and Shen Jingxian looked at each other with conflicted expressions on their faces. Hong Yan, on the other hand, stood rooted to the spot with a perplexed look on her face. She did not utter a single word as the scene of Xiao Chen standing in front of her and chasing away the giant beast kept replaying in her mind. That Xiao Chen, what kind of person is he? Why is he willing to take the risk to protect everyone? If it's just to protect Shen Jingxian, then he only needs to escape with Shen Jingxian. Furthermore, according to Hong Zhu's observations, his strength does not seem to be that great. Hong Zhu could not sense how high his rank was at all. Apart from knowing a few strange spells, there was nothing special about him. Is he not afraid of death? Or does he have other motives? Hong Zhu, it looks like we have to leave this place as soon as possible. Just as the three of them were in a daze, a mature female voice sounded. CFA had already finished inspecting Song Qingshu and third young master Hong's injuries, and was walking over with a grave expression. What's wrong? How are their injuries? Hong Zhu returned to his senses and asked apologetically. Actually, he should have been the one to do this. He had been too busy talking to Shen Jingxian just now and had forgotten about it. He had even needed CFA's help. CFA shook her head and said in a low voice, Song Qingshu has a few broken ribs, and third young master Hong's internal organs are severely damaged. Although I have already given them healing pills, I don't think it will have much of an effect. It's better to carry them out and treat them as soon as possible. Then Xiao Chen Shen Jingxian bit her lower lip and looked in the direction that Xiao Chen had left in. She had wanted to wait for Xiao Chen to return before leaving, but she did not expect the two of them to be so badly injured. She was too embarrassed to say anything. How about this? As for Xiao Chen, Hong Zhu hesitated for a moment, then comforted her. Since he was able to come to the venerable realm to cultivate, he should have stayed in the inner martial world for some time. It won't be difficult for him to find out about the existence of the Hong and Song families. I believe it won't be long before he takes the initiative to find us. Although Hong Zhu said so, in truth, she had no idea whether Xiao Chen would actually come knocking on her door. But she really couldn't care so much right now. After all, a person's life was at stake. Everything else could only wait. Well, that's the only thing we can do now. CFA nodded in agreement. She looked around and nimbly rolled up her sleeves. While looking for materials, she said, Song Qingshu and Hong third young master's injuries are more serious. Moreover, they are both injured in their internal organs. We can't make too much vibration, otherwise it's very likely that their injuries will worsen. How about this? Let's first find some sturdy branches and make 2 simple stretchers. Then, we'll use the stretchers to carry them out. Hong Zhu naturally did not have any objections, and was just about to head off with CFA to look for the materials, when he turned around and saw Hong Yan still standing there in a daze. He shouted, Hong Yan, don't just stand there in a daze. Hurry up and give us a hand. Oh, okay. Hong Yan was startled by Hong Zhu's shout. She quickly returned to her senses and hurriedly agreed. She collected her thoughts and followed behind Hong Zhu. Since he could not figure out Xiao Chen's intentions, he could only put it aside for the time being. In any case, the two of them might not have a chance to meet in the future, so there was no point in thinking about the thoughts of a pervert. I'll help you as well. Shen Jingxian took another deep look in the direction that Xiao Chen had left in. Finally, she turned around and walked over to Hong Zhu and the others, joining them in picking up materials. Although Shen Jingxian very much wanted to catch up to Xiao Chen and reunite with Cheng Minjing, whom she had not seen for a long time, when she considered the terrible situation they were in and the dangerous environment of the venerable realm, she had no choice but to give up on this idea. Shen Jingxian secretly prayed in her heart that Xiao Chen would be able to find the Hong and Song families, just as Hong Zhu had said. Otherwise, after the ceremony in the cultivation world, it was very likely that she would never see him again. On the other side, after chasing for a while, Xiao Chun was shocked to find that even though he was an expert at the nascent soul stage, he could not catch up to this white colossus at all. Furthermore, if it was not for the fact that this fellow would occasionally slow down, giving him a chance to catch up to it, he would have nearly lost it a few times. Xiao Chun did not believe this, and quickened his pace once again. However, he was dumbfounded to find that the white colossus seemed to have increased its speed as well. In any case, it maintained a certain distance from him. Suddenly, a sense of defeat washed over him. Xiao Chun gloomily asked in his heart, "Elder Heaven Ancestor, what is this huge beast in front of us? Have you seen it before?" "A base spiritual beast." The Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice carried a hint of sorrow as he lamented. "Kid, your luck is indeed not bad. This kind of base spiritual beast was extremely rare, even in ancient times. I did not expect to see it in a place like this. But it's no wonder, base spiritual beasts like to stay in places with abundant heaven and earth spiritual chi. The venerable realm just happens to provide a good living environment for it. It's actually a spiritual beast," Xiao Chun said in astonishment. "I realized that its speed is quite fast. If it wasn't for the fact that I have the strength of a full foundation original infant stage cultivator, and have enough chi to support me, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to run over it." Just as Xiao Chun spoke, the base spiritual beast seemed to have increased its speed. Xiao Chun did not dare to delay, and immediately took a deep breath, and quickened his pace to catch up. "Hee Xiao Chun, have you lost your mind from chasing it?" The Elder Heaven Ancestor could not help but laugh. He went straight to the point and said, "Can't you see that it is not using its full strength? If it wasn't purposely trying to lead you to a certain place, I'm afraid it would have lost you long ago. Would it still be able to keep up with you like it is doing now?" Now that you mention it, that does seem to be the case. It looks like this base spiritual beast is purposely suppressing its strength." After the Elder Heaven Ancestor's reminder, a light bulb went off in Xiao Chun's mind, and he realized that it was indeed the case. During the chase, the base spiritual beast would occasionally turn its head around to look at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun initially thought that it was trying to see if it could shake him off. But now, it seemed that the base spiritual beast was trying to determine if he could keep up with it or not. Sometimes, when he was a little further behind, the base spiritual beast would slow down as if it was waiting for him. Chapter 1239. I never thought that this spiritual beast would be so intelligent. But why did I feel that it was only at the 7th level of the martial honor realm? Xiao Chun asked doubtfully. Did I sense it wrong? But it really couldn't withstand the attack of my electric ball technique. You're right, it's only at the 7th level of the martial honor realm. This can't be hidden in the eyes of cultivators. It's just that it's known for its speed, which is why you couldn't catch up to it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor explained. I see then. Xiao Chun nodded. Just as he was about to ask more questions, the Elder Heaven Ancestor seemed to know what he was going to ask, and immediately answered. This base spiritual beast likes to get close to people with spiritual chi. According to my observations, it originally wanted to take Hong Zhu and Hong Yin away. But after you displayed your skills, it changed its mind. I'm guessing that it realized that the spiritual chi in your body is more abundant than that of the two girls. So it chose you instead. Oh, but why did it lead me to Qing Minjing's place of seclusion? Isn't it afraid that I'll kill it directly? Xiao Chun scratched his head, still a little confused. He couldn't figure out what the base spiritual beast was up to. I don't know about that. You can ask it yourself when you catch it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor smiled and said, when this kind of spiritual beast cultivates to the martial honor realm, it basically has intelligence and can speak the human language. It's just that it hasn't learned it systematically, so its pronunciation isn't very accurate. Damn, it can speak the human language? It's already strange enough that it can speak. Why does it have an accent? Xiao Chun shook his head, feeling that his view of the world had been changed. The Elder Heaven Ancestor looked ahead and immediately reminded him. Xiao Chun stopped chatting. Look, the base spiritual beast has changed direction. It doesn't seem to be heading for Chung Minjing and the others. Be careful. Holy *T. Xiao Chen wanted to know more about the Bay's spirit beast, but after hearing the words of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, he quickly looked over and found that the Bay's spirit beast had indeed changed its route and was running deeper into the forest. Moreover, it was running faster and faster, and gradually it was out of sight. Xiao Chen did not dare to ask any more questions. It seemed that he would not be able to catch up with them with his feet. He quickly summoned his flying sword and stepped on it, tearing through the air to chase after them. After entering the forest, Xiao Chen only felt that the fog in front of him was getting thicker and thicker. Originally, he could see more than 100 feet away, but gradually he could only see around him. Moreover, the surrounding scenery was even more gloomy and terrifying than before. Strange branches of withered trees grew out from the sides, looking like bony arms waving towards the sky. It was extremely terrifying. Although he did not know where he was at the moment, Xiao Chen still relied on the powerful power of his divine sense to follow closely behind the Baizé spiritual beast. Xiao Chen, there's danger ahead. Get out of the way. Just as Xiao Chen was about to reach the Baizé spiritual beast, the Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly warned him in his divine sense. Boom! The Elder Heaven Ancestor's warning was a little too late. Just as Xiao Chen was alerted, he suddenly saw a huge beam of white light flash in front of him, almost blinding his eyes. Then, a lightning bolt as thick as a bucket fell from the sky without warning, directly striking his position. Although the moment the Elder Heaven Ancestor warned him of danger, Xiao Chen immediately revolved his Yuan Qi to increase his defense. But against that lightning bolt, his pitiful defense was almost useless. Ah! Xiao Chen, who was struck head-on, could not help but let out a blood-curdling scream. He immediately lost his balance and fell from the flying sword. Only a series of crackling sounds could be heard. Who knew how many branches he broke before he fell heavily to the ground? Xiao Chen only felt an unparalleled pain. Then he had an intimate contact with the ground. He vomited a few mouthfuls of blood and soon fainted, lying there motionless. Xiao Chen's hair had already been completely scorched and curled, looking like an afro. The blue lightning had not disappeared yet. It was still jumping and burning on his body. There were even a few places where sparks had already appeared, and there was even a faint zzz sound of electric current. The strange thing was that the Baizé spiritual beast had led Xiao Chen here, and after he was struck by lightning, there was no trace of him. No one knew where he went. When he regained consciousness again, Xiao Chen found himself in the sea of divine knowledge. The Elder Heaven Ancestor beside him kept shaking his head and sighing, and the floating underworld fire and in Xiaoma were also worried. Seeing this scene, Xiao Chen immediately realized the seriousness of the problem. He forcibly suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and asked carefully, Elder Heaven Ancestor, was I suddenly struck by lightning? What is the origin of that lightning? With my current strength, even if I was struck by lightning, I wouldn't be so seriously injured, right? What the hell is going on? If I'm not wrong, you should have been struck by one of the 5 elements calamities, the thunder calamity. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said with a dignified expression. This kind of lightning strike is different from ordinary lightning. The damage caused by it, not to mention your strength at the peak of the nascent soul stage, even a master at the profound ascending stage, may not be able to withstand it. Hiss. So powerful. According to what you said, I'm not dead now, am I? Xiao Chen was a little dumbfounded, and an ominous feeling welled up in his heart. Isn't this too ridiculous? How could I be struck to death by lightning? How could cultivators, who claim to be omnipotent and awesome, be so unreliable? How do I say this? In theory, you're not dead yet, but you're not far from death. The Elder Heaven Ancestor hesitated for a moment and frankly said. This answer made Xiao Chen even more depressed. He didn't expect the 5 elements calamity in the venerable realm to be so powerful that even cultivators couldn't resist it. No wonder when Chou Wanqian mentioned the 5 elements calamity, he put on a face as if he didn't believe that he couldn't kill them. It turned out that it was true. Elder Heaven Ancestor, You'd better finish what you want to say in one go. What do you mean by not far from death? Why do I sound so nervous? Xiao Chen said with a bitter face. It's like this. After you were struck by lightning, the lightning struck your body. And now your body's automatic recovery mechanism is constantly fighting against it. Elder Sky explained helplessly. However, this rate of recovery is far from being able to keep up with the continuous damage caused by the lightning strike. Therefore, your body is currently in a process of continuous deterioration, which means that you are not far from death. Damn. Then what am I doing in this sea of consciousness? Xiao Chen put his hand on his forehead and suddenly looked at the Elder Heaven Ancestor. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you're not thinking of. Chapter 1240. That's the only way. The Elder Heaven Ancestor nodded and said, your body is about to be destroyed, so I have to separate your soul from your body. Then I have to find a way to get you a new body. Otherwise, you will vanish into thin air. No way. Is there no other way? Xiao Chen's face fell, and he complained incessantly. I quite like my current appearance. Besides, Cheng Minjing and the others only recognize my face. If I were to possess someone else's body and interact with them, it would feel a little weird. Xiao Chen kept whining in his heart. It was not easy for him to reach the peak of the nascent soul realm. Did he have to find a new body to possess and start his cultivation from the beginning? Then wouldn't all the hard work he had done be in vain? Look at the situation, and you're still thinking about these useless things. The Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't know whether to laugh or cry, shaking his head. He thought for a while and then sighed. Unless someone can help you share a part of the lightning strike's energy, relieving the pressure on your body's recovery mechanism and suppressing the lightning damage. Then, you can slowly heal your internal injuries. But, I'm lying down and can't move at this moment. Where am I going to find someone? Xiao Chen immediately hung his head dejectedly. Suddenly, he raised his head and asked in bewilderment. That's right, I actually have another question. Elder Heaven Ancestor, it was you Nethery, and in Xiaoma who helped me share the damage, wasn't it? Why didn't it work this time? Xiao Chen suddenly recalled that whenever he received a fatal blow in the past, it was the Elder Heaven Ancestor and the others who helped him. When it was serious, they would be beaten into a dormant state, just like the time when he was in the Kuei Mountain sect. But why was it that he was about to die this time, while they were all fine and unscathed? Did they slack off? Kid, what are you thinking? Naturally, Elder Sky knew what Xiao Chen was thinking. He shook his body in agitation and reprimanded. If we didn't help you absorb the damage, you would have died a long time ago. How could you still be standing here talking? It's just that in order to tell you these complicated things, we didn't do our best, so we didn't sleep. You heartless little thing. Open your eyes wide and take a good look. Xiao Chen focused his gaze and discovered that the primordial spirits of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, the flames of the underworld, and in Little Demon were faintly discernible, floating like gossamer threads. They were in a very unstable state and looked like they could disappear at any time. Xiao Chen was a little embarrassed. He touched his nose and apologized. Elder Heaven Ancestor, I'm really sorry, I didn't see clearly before. Don't talk. Before Xiao Chen could finish speaking, the Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly made a shushing gesture and said vigilantly, that base spirit beast seems to be back. Because the Elder Heaven Ancestor's primordial spirit was too exhausted, he could only release a small range of his divine sense to observe the movements around him. Just now he discovered that something was wrong. Sure enough, as soon as the Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice fell, a rustling sound came from the grass not far away. A pair of green eyes suddenly appeared and stared at Xiao Chen's body. After a while, it carefully moved and slowly approached Xiao Chen's position. Whoosh! The base spirit beast walked out of the grass and came to Xiao Chen's side. It looked down at him from above and complained angrily. Useless Xiao, you have a body full of negative energy, but in the end, you shit after being struck by lightning. What a waste of my time. Listening to the base spirit beast's unclear words, Xiao Chen, who was staying in the sea of consciousness, couldn't help but feel angry and amused. He couldn't understand why this fellow lured him here to be struck by lightning. Was it just to watch him make a fool of himself? Something doesn't seem right. The Bay's spirit beast circled around Xiaochen a few more times, and suddenly discovered that he was still breathing weakly. Seeing that Xiaochen's body was still flashing with blue lightning, his body was charred in several places, and his hair was curled as if it had been burned by irons, the Bay's spirit beast said to itself in surprise. This fellow doesn't seem to have shit yet? Why is he back to Xiaoxi? Little Nethery, little demonin, how much strength can you use now? Xiaochen had a brainwave when he heard the Bay's spiritual beast answering its own questions. He suddenly thought of a good idea that might be able to solve the current unfavorable situation. However, he still needed the help of the flame of the underworld and little demonin. Reporting to Master, little Nethery and I currently have less than 20% of our strength left. I'm afraid we can't fight against that spirit beast. And little demon reported honestly with a bitter face. I don't need you to fight against it, you just need to do this. Xiaochen perfected the idea from beginning to end. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and he waved his hand confidently to let the two primordial spirits come to his side. Then, he whispered a few words to them, and revealed his entire plan. Will this really work? That spirit beast has the strength of the venerable realm after all. Master, your method is too childish, isn't it? After listening to Xiaochen's idea, and little demon frowned, and couldn't help but raise his doubts. The elder heaven ancestor naturally heard Xiaochen's plan, and also rolled his eyes. However, he was too lazy to pay attention to it. After all, he had no other better way at the moment. So he could only let Xiaochen try it as a last resort. Whether it's childish or not, we have to give it a try. It's a matter of life and death now. Unless you have a better suggestion, do as I say. Xiaochen ignored in little demon's doubts, and gave the order with a sullen face. Yes, and little demon, and the flame of the underworld looked at each other. Naturally, they did not dare to have any objections and nodded in agreement. Even if Xiaochen was in a half-dead state, and was about to die, he was still their master. They could have doubts, but it was absolutely impossible for them to resist. The Bay's spiritual beast circled around Xiaochen for a while. When it saw that his skin and flesh were gradually charred black, and his condition was getting worse, it reckoned that he wouldn't be able to live for much longer. It snorted and turned around to leave, planning to look for other substitutes. Hee. Bay's spirit beast had not gone far when it suddenly heard a creepy strange laughter coming from behind it. It was startled, and almost stamped its hooves. In its shock, it turned around to take a look, and discovered that a black mist was slowly rising from Xiaochen's body. What the hell is this? Out of curiosity, Bay's spirit beast turned around and walked toward Xiaochen. Its green eyes stared straight at the black mist. It watched as the black mist gradually turned into a human figure, and its eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and limbs were spewing out blue-purple flames. The scene was very strange. Chapter 1241. TSK, you little bastard. You actually hurt my master. You've got guts. The humanoid black fog let out a strange sharp laughter, and bared its fangs and claws at the Bay's spiritual beast. The thing that emerged from Xiaochen's body was the combination of Xiaomo and the flames of the underworld. As they were not sure if they were a match for the Bay's spiritual beast, they only used the method of intimidation for the time being, and did not take the initiative to attack immediately. F***CK. I didn't expect this kid's body to have such a strange thing. The Bay's spiritual beast stared at the black fog with its big eyes, and rubbed its hooves back and forth on the same spot. Under the situation where it could not figure out the opponent's strength, the Bay's spiritual beast did not dare to attack rashly. Moreover, the humanoid black fog's crooked appearance did look a little scary. Little bastard, don't even think about leaving today. I'll use your flesh and blood to pay for my master's life. Seeing that the Bay's spiritual beast was indeed intimidated, the bluish-purple flames on its body immediately sprayed out more vigorously. Its erratic figure suddenly flashed, and quickly rushed toward the bay's spiritual beast. Roar! The bay's spiritual beast first took a small step back, then shook its body and revealed the strength of a 7th-level martial honor. It roared angrily and jumped up with its huge body. It waved its thick claws and slashed at Nshiama's body. However, just as the bay's spiritual beast's claws were about to touch Nshiama, it heard a swoosh sound, and its claws immediately fell into thin air. Nshiama had disappeared into thin air, and disappeared without a trace before its eyes. What the F***ck? What's with Jia? Don't tell me you're just trying to scare Silver with your brute strength? The bay's spiritual beast's attack missed, and it landed heavily on the ground helplessly. It looked around the empty forest in confusion and cursed loudly. Tsk. Little bastard. Don't be happy too early. And Little Demon's eerie and terrifying laughter sounded again. But this time, it was not just one voice, but dozens of different voices in the air at the same time. Baize was stunned for a moment. It immediately raised its head to look at the sky and saw countless human-shaped black mists floating in mid-air. They were surrounding it, and each of them was like the black mist from before, spitting out bluish-purple flames from all over their bodies. This scene was even stranger than before. Insignificant skill. The Baize spirit beast thought that it was an illusion created by the humanoid black fog. It growled in disdain, and its eyes suddenly burst out with green light. It scanned the air with rapt attention, trying to distinguish which one was Nshiama's real body. Despite that, Baize was a little puzzled after it scanned through the tens of black shadows. It kicked its hooves and remarked hatefully, "Looks like a monster like you still has some tricks up your sleeves. They're all real. Tsk, cut the crap. Since you've injured my master, you can go and die." As soon as the Baize spirit beast finished speaking, dozens of humanoid black mists descended at the same time. They said the same thing while attacking it from different angles. Clouds of black mist mixed with bluish-purple flames kept shuttling around, surrounding the Baize spirit beast in the center. The scene was extremely spectacular. Roar! The Baize spirit beast was not afraid at all. Instead, it let out an excited roar. Looking at the bluish-purple flames that were surging from all directions, it moved its huge body to dodge left and right, twisting and turning, looking quite agile. Not only did it dodge the flame attack, but it also raised its two meaty claws in front of it and waved them at the attacking humanoid black mist, trying to kill them one by one. However, what made Baize spirit beast feel strange was that every time it successfully tore a combination, it would immediately split into two combinations and continue to attack it. Although the black fog did not cause any substantial damage to the Baize beast, it was gradually running out of stamina after a few rounds. That being said, it did not panic. Instead, it retreated as it fought, slowly moving in the opposite direction in an attempt to sneak away from the battle. Crack! As it retreated, it suddenly heard the crisp sound of bones breaking. The Baize spirit beast felt as if its hind leg had stepped on something. However, before it could think about it carefully, a strong electric current traveled along its hind leg and instantly entered its body, almost causing it to pee. Roar! The Baize spirit beast could not help but let out a cry. It turned its head with difficulty and saw that its hind leg had stepped on Xiao Chen's wrist without any deviation. The electric current that remained in Xiao Chen's body was now surging into its body at an extremely fast speed. At that moment, the Baize spirit beast finally understood why the humanoid black mist was attacking it. However, it was too late. Its hind leg was firmly attached to Xiao Chen's wrist by the electric current, and it could not pull it back even if it wanted to. As more and more electric current surged into its body, the Baize spirit beast did not even have the strength to cry out. It gradually fell limply to the ground and lay next to Xiao Chen, twitching nonstop. Its snow-white fur was stained with dead leaves and the dust on the ground. It looked very pitiful. Due to the continuous damage caused by the electric current, the Baize spirit beast had already absorbed a portion of it. Xiao Chen's injuries were finally alleviated. The powerful recovery mechanism was also operating more smoothly. The burnt parts of his body were finally gradually recovering to their original state. Elder Heaven Ancestor, how is it? My idea wasn't bad, right? Since the electric current has been diverted, can I continue to use this body? Seeing that the burnt parts of his body were slowly recovering to white, Xiao Chun in his sea of consciousness was very pleased. He asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor with a grin. Not bad indeed. You really have a lot of clever ideas, kid. The Elder Heaven Ancestor was not stingy with his praise. However, before Xiao Chun could speak, he added, but don't be too happy too early. This matter is not over yet. Ah, what do you mean not over yet? Don't tell me there's going to be more lightning strikes? Xiao Chun was instantly shocked. If he was struck by lightning again, he would really be finished. That's not it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor shook his head and solemnly instructed. I've already checked your condition. Although your body has recovered by about 30% to 40%, the injuries were too severe. Even your strength has regressed a lot. Once you've taken over your body, remember to immediately use your vitality to speed up the recovery of the damaged parts, so that it doesn't cause a second injury. Oh, so that's how it is. I understand now. Xiao Chun nodded in understanding. He closed his eyes and circulated his mental cultivation method. Gradually, his primordial spirit and body became one. Hiss! What the F***ck? As soon as he took over his body, Xiao Chun blurted out a curse. Chapter 1242. The moment Xiao Chun took over his body, he felt his meridians suddenly convulse violently. His internal organs were in turmoil, and he almost couldn't catch his breath. It turned out that although the lightning on the surface of Xiao Chun's body had been guided out, there was still a lot of electricity left in his body. It was shuttling through his meridians and constantly stimulating his internal organs, which was why such a situation occurred. The twitching feeling was thousands of times stronger than the usual electric shock. It almost made Xiao Chun, who had just woken up, faint again. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He immediately mobilized his yuan qi, wanting to disperse the electric current in his body. However, what surprised Xiao Chun was that every time his yuan qi was about to touch the electric current, the traces of lightning would suddenly disappear without a trace. Not long after, it would drill out from another place. Xiao Chun tried a few times, but he was unable to capture those electric currents. It was as if they had a mind of their own, continuously playing a game of hide and seek in his meridians. On the contrary, it caused Xiao Chun's body to twitch from the electricity. That kind of numb, itchy, and painful feeling made him feel extremely uncomfortable. F***ku. I don't believe I can't deal with you. The more Xiao Chun chased, the angrier he got. He cursed angrily and mobilized all the remaining yuan qi in his body. It gathered towards the electric current from all directions and drove it into his dantian. He planned to destroy it all at once. The electric current was chased by the yuan qi and had nowhere to escape. It could only gradually gather in his dantian. Countless tiny electric currents mixed with each other and gradually fused into an egg-sized sphere in Xiao Chun's dantian. Its body was shining with a silvery white light. Although he was curious about this silvery white sphere, Xiao Chun knew that it was not a suitable time to observe it. He continued to mobilize his yuan qi and wrapped it around the sphere. Then he tried to slowly devour it. It was unknown whether it was the final radiance of a setting sun or a desperate attempt. The silvery white sphere was unwilling to be eroded by the yuan qi and was struggling to resist. However, it was just a small ball of lightning after all. In the face of the powerful yuan qi attack, the silver white ball finally lost its luster, and its size became smaller and smaller. It looked like it was about to be completely devoured. Watching the small ball gradually disappear, Xiao Chun let out a sigh of relief. He was extremely glad that he had escaped death. But at this moment, the silver white sphere that had collapsed to the size of a grain of rice suddenly emitted an incomparably resplendent and dazzling light. Then a violent explosion burst out from the inside, completely blowing up the vitality around it. Ah! An intense pain instantly spread from his dantian to his whole body. Xiao Chun let out a miserable howl and almost fainted from the pain. Fortunately, Xiao Chun was at the peak of the original infant stage, and his dantian was as hard as steel and cement. Otherwise, he would have been crippled by the explosion. Fortunately, the pain came and went quickly. It didn't take long for Xiao Chun to recover from the pain. However, before Xiao Chun could do anything, he suddenly felt that in his dantian that had been blown up, a thick wave of yuan qi was born out of thin air. This wave of essence was even more robust and pure than the essence that Xiao Chun had circulated previously. Furthermore, after it left his dantian, that wave of essence immediately split into countless strands of essence that were as thin as hair. They followed his meridians and madly circulated a great cycle. From a boiling and whistling sound, they gradually calmed down and then gathered in his dantian once again. Boom! Just when all the yuan qi was gathered together, Xiao Chun heard a familiar roar in his body. The barrier of the profound ascension stage was instantly broken, and he was promoted from the peak of the original infant stage to the first level of the profound ascension stage. I leveled up? Xiao Chun opened his eyes in astonishment, looked at his body in disbelief, and muttered to himself. Elder Heaven Ancestor was floating in Xiao Chun's sea of consciousness at this time. He also had a dumbfounded look on his face. He sighed with mixed feelings. Kid, you are really... Sigh, comparing yourself to others is really annoying. Xiao Chun lowered his head to inspect his body. Apart from his tattered clothes, his body had completely recovered. The injuries from the lightning, the injuries from falling from a high altitude, and the wounds from the tree branches had all disappeared. His skin was fair and smooth as if it was new. Even his wrist, which had been broken by the base spirit beast, had completely recovered. Sitting up and waving his fist, Xiao Chun asked in surprise. Elder Heaven Ancestor, am I really a profound ascension stage master now? Well, although I can't believe it like you have indeed broken through. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice sounded a little sour. Xiao Chun immediately climbed up and took a deep breath. He felt refreshed. It seemed that all the injuries on his body had indeed recovered. Except for his clothes that were burned by the thunder and lightning, there was no other abnormality. Scratching his head, Xiao Chun was puzzled about his breakthrough. He asked Elder Heaven Ancestor again. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what happened just now? How did I suddenly break through? I'm not too sure about the specific situation. Elder Heaven Ancestor returned to his normal mood. But he was also a little puzzled. He could only analyze the situation according to the actual situation. I guess maybe you were lucky. After the residual thunder and lightning in your body mixed with the original yuan qi, it actually refined a new yuan qi. So you broke through the barrier in a short period of time and upgraded to the strength of the profound ascension stage. There's actually such a good thing. Xiao Chun raised his head, looked at the forest shrouded in fog and murmured. Do you think if I get struck by lightning again, will I continue to upgrade? I can't be sure about that. If you are interested, you can try again, Elder Heaven Ancestor said leisurely. But don't blame me for not reminding you in advance. That Baizé spirit beast is not lightly injured. If you are struck by lightning again, there will be nothing else to help you absorb the electric current. Right. Baizé spirit beast. Xiao Chun came back to his senses and remembered what had just happened. He quickly called back in Little Demon and the fire of the underworld, who were still floating outside. He praised them a few words, and then kept them back into the sea of consciousness. Then, Xiao Chun looked at the Baizé spirit beast that had fallen to the ground and was twitching all over. He said to himself, this damn thing, it's really tough. It actually didn't get electrocuted directly. I really don't know why it lured me here. Is it just to see me get struck by lightning? Isn't it too free? After pondering for a moment, an idea came to Xiao Chun's mind. He slowly leaned down and put his hand on the forehead of the Baizé spirit beast. Chapter 1243. As soon as he came into contact with the Baizé beast's skin, Xiao Chun felt an electric current that fluctuated between strong and weak, stimulating the center of his palm. Thus, he immediately activated his primordial qi and absorbed all the electric current in the Baizé beast's body. then dissolved it in his own body. This time, Xiao Chun was not knocked down by the electric current. He was still standing steadily. The electric current that was sucked in by him obediently circulated around his body. Then it silently disintegrated in his dantian. Like a clay ox entering the sea, there was not the slightest ripple. However, although he had absorbed quite a lot of electric current, Xiao Chun was not able to continue leveling up. It seemed that this trick did not work every time. Woo! The Baize beast felt that the pressure on its body had lessened by quite a bit. It let out a low cry and woke up. It opened its green eyes and glanced at Xiao Chun with a confused look. Alright, stop pretending to be a dead dog. Hurry up and stand up. Otherwise, I'll let you have a taste of being struck by lightning again. Xiao Chun stood up and condensed an electric ball technique. He raised it above the Baize beast's head, then raised his leg and kicked it. He raised his eyebrows slightly and threatened impatiently. Seeing the crackling electric ball in Xiao Chun's hand, the Baize beast trembled in fear. It used all its strength to support its huge body with its 4 legs, then lowered its head slightly, and let out a low whimper, as if it was showing weakness. I know you can speak human language. Don't be like a dog always howling. Xiao Chun laughed coldly and kicked it again. The Baize beast was slightly stunned. It then remembered that its mumbling earlier might have been heard by this person. It could only rub its hind legs helplessly and said, that's right. I'm a spiritual beast that has cultivated for a few hundred years. Can you not always compare me to a dog? I can easily stomp a bunch of spicy low-level creatures to death. Although the Baize beast knew that Xiao Chun was much more powerful than it was not afraid of Xiao Chun at all. It was only curious as to why this fellow was able to display his strength in the honorable realm, like it did, and was not suppressed to the level of a perfected king. Could it be that this fellow was also a spiritual beast? Oh, I didn't expect you to have such pride. Xiao Chun shrugged and said disdainfully, What's so great about spiritual beasts? I have a cultivation dog as well. I'll bring it to the honorable realm for a breakthrough another day. When that happens, you can come and watch. When it evolves into the universe's super honorable realm dog, it will be able to kill you in no time. Your dog's name sure is long. The Baize beast muttered and waved its front paw. Spicy, all right. When it comes, you can give me a call to tell me to come and watch. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. See you later. Once it finished speaking, the Baize beast flapped its body, turned around and burrowed into the forest. It was ready to take this opportunity to leave this place. Come back. Are you not taking me seriously or what? Xiao Chun furrowed his brows and immediately threw the thunder ball in his hand, smashing it on the ground in front of the Baize spiritual beast. Boom! The thunderball technique directly blasted a hole in the ground. The Baize spirit beast trembled all over. Only now did it understand that Xiao Chun was serious this time. It hurriedly turned around and obediently walked back, returning to Xiao Chun unwillingly. Next, I'll ask you a question and you'll answer it. Xiao Chun nodded his head in satisfaction. He said slowly, You'd better be more honest. If I find out that you're lying, you should know what the consequences will be. Once he finished speaking, Xiao Chun condensed another electric ball and injected a bit of vitality into it. The electric ball instantly expanded by several times and hung above the Baize beast. He then made a expression at it. The Baize beast immediately lowered its head and acted as if it was obediently waiting for someone to order it around. Xiao Chun asked calmly, You've spent so much effort to lure me to this lousy place. What's your purpose? Why did you attack those girls earlier? Nothing much, I just thought it was fun. Plus, you guys are weaker, so I wanted to bully you. The Baize beast's saliva flew everywhere as it tried to bluff. Suddenly, it heard a crackling sound that was getting closer. It raised its head and realized that Xiao Chun had placed the electric ball on its head. It could almost feel the electric current burning the hair on its head. The Baize beast was so scared that its legs turned to jelly. It immediately changed its expression and explained in all seriousness, I was just joking. I actually wanted to catch a few silvers filled with spiritual chi and come here to be struck by lightning. I want to see what happens to me. What did you say? I think you've been struck dumb by the lightning. You're going around capturing people for this lousy matter? Xiao Chen obviously didn't believe the Bai Zai beast's nonsense. However, before he figured out the reason, he didn't want to rashly kill the Bai Zai beast. An idea flashed through Xiao Chen's mind. He simply raised the electric ball in front of the Bai Zai beast and said in a low voice patiently, "Stop bullshitting. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Hurry up and tell me the truth." Seeing the electric ball in front of it, the Bai Zai beast was so scared that its eyes almost turned into a cross. It anxiously defended itself. "I'm lying. That's indeed the case. This is because this is a secret place in the four Venerable One's secret realms. There are many treasures of heaven and earth here." However, the lightning tribulation often happens here. Furthermore, those lightning bolts don't strike normal silvers or animals. They only strike Xiao, who has 0 qi on his body. So you might as well find someone with spiritual qi and try it out. Let's see what happens after you're struck. Xiao Chen's expression darkened as he asked. The Bai's spirit beast blinked its green eyes and nodded obediently. "Go to hell. Your body is full of spiritual qi. Why don't you try the lightning tribulation yourself? Instead, you want to find innocent people to experiment on. Tell me, do you have nothing better to do?" Xiao Chen kicked the Bai Zai beast fiercely and scolded it angrily. He didn't think that he would become this damn thing's test subject. If it wasn't for the fact that his life was hanging by a thread, and he had the idea to share the damage with the Bai Zai beast, perhaps Xiao Chen would already be a wandering spirit by now. "I'm scared. What if the lightning tribulation strikes my sh*t? Of course, I'll look for Xiao first." The Bai Zai beast did not feel guilty at all. Instead, it spoke confidently. "I should have struck you long ago." Xiao Chen glared at the Bai Zai beast angrily. When he turned his head, he saw a few fragments lying on the ground not far from him. They looked quite familiar. "How can you, a Xiao, speak like that?" The Bai Zai beast was about to protest when Xiao Chen yelled angrily. "Don't speak. Stay there obediently and don't move. Otherwise, I'll electrocute you." You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.